Hello, and welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson, and this is a show where we talk about THC. No, not that kind of THC, although yes, that kind of THC, but the THC we're referring to is truth, hope, and change. Three very powerful things that we need a lot of in our world at this point. On the show today, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca. We'll do an update on the Healing Wave CSP situation, talk a little bit about the out-of-town CSPs going on, and we got a whole lot of other information going on for you as well. So, this is a crazy world we live in, as you know. This journey of ours on our quest for a low barrier access cannabis store, community cannabis store, has been in the works for over 5.5 years. 5.5 years ago, or 6 years ago now, I presented it first to Vandu, the funded by Coastal Health Advocacy group that works on behalf of the oppressed drug users in the downtown east side, and got unanimous approval for the idea of just making it as easy as possible to get high-dose cannabis edibles into the hands of the people that were using hard drugs. Because cannabis high-dose edibles can help people get through withdrawal, which is so important, and it can offset the use of those other drugs. So after getting Vandu's approval, I went to Vancouver City Council and presented it to them, and I went to the Vancouver Police Board and presented it to them. That was almost 6 years ago now. And we started the program 2 months later, in February. We started handing out high-dose edibles. We were very successful at that. People really liked it. We had lineups of people right around the block every time we went there. For the first year, we were there once a week on Saturdays, and for the next 2.5 years, we were there twice a week on Thursdays and Sundays, giving out care packs of 4 to 6 high-dose edibles and a couple of joints to 250 to 300 people that would line up for them. We had the researchers from Dr. M.J. Malloy there for a while doing studies on what was happening with us, and that resulted in dozens of peer-reviewed papers talking about the efficacy and the safety of our program. Eventually, the City of Vancouver passed a motion unanimously to support low-barrier access to cannabis, and we responded to that motion. We met with the city and came with an understanding that we would find a storefront and we would move our program indoors and we would operate it every day of the week. And that's what we did. When we did that, the city licensing department decided that they wouldn't license us to be in the store until Health Canada did. So we applied for a license to Health Canada. That's almost 2 years ago now, and we've been waiting ever since. Health Canada is extremely negligent in their responsibility to support things that are going to be a solution for the opioid crisis, where tens of thousands of Canadians have died as a result of a poison drug supply. We do have a good solution. We've been rescuing people for 5.5 years. Hundreds of people are part of our program. Hundreds more come daily and get a free muffin and a free joint or purchase whatever they need to satisfy their needs. We've been doing really well at that. But Health Canada has not responded for almost 2 years. As a result of their negligence in properly licensing what is a good solution to this problem, or a partial solution, we've been raided by the VPD. We've already had our first court appearance for trafficking against the Cannabis Act without a license. And on next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, on August 17th, we're back in court to probably set another date of some sort. All of this couldn't be more ridiculous and upside down. It's just insane. We've demonstrated clearly for 5.5 years, over a half a decade, that what we're doing works very well, and rescues people from addiction. But still we don't get a license. Why? The reason is corruption. Corruption, plain and simple, runs right to the top in this country. We are dealing with a very, very corrupt federal government. They've been that way for decades, but it's been more and more obvious as we move forward, and certainly what we're doing with our program is exposing that. One of the main reasons that the federal government doesn't want to allow low-barrier access to cannabis is because they have a monopoly on selling cannabis, and they want to keep the prices at higher than what they were during Prohibition to make billions of dollars for insiders and friends. But there's another good reason that they're doing it as well, and that's to protect pharmaceutical interests. Our government is in bed with the pharmaceutical companies and has been all along. In fact, the solutions that they are approving for the overdose crisis are all pharmaceutical-based, where taxpayers' money will be used to give to pharmaceutical companies to come up with a safe supply of other opioids and other pharmaceutical drugs that will offset the use of the street drugs. But they're also the ones who are blocking access to cannabis and don't want cannabis to be part of that equation. The same pharmaceutical companies who now have been exposed for the lies that they told back in, well, a couple decades ago or more, about a chemical imbalance being responsible for depression, low serotonin levels. And they have made literally billions of dollars on the sale of SSRIs and antidepressant medicines designed to restore the chemical balance in the human brain. But now it's come out that there was never any evidence to justify those claims at all. It wasn't based on science, it was based on a desire to sell product. These corrupt, horribly greedy, I don't know what else to call them, immoral companies that are raping the citizens of North America and the world out of billions and trillions of dollars are lying, and they cannot be trusted. And they should have never been trusted because their whole motive is all money. It's never been to actually cure anything or help people in any way unless they can make a bunch of money by saying that they're helping people. And that's what they've been doing for decades with depression. 17% of people in the United States are on antidepressant medicines. 17%. That is a huge, huge amount of money that is pouring into the pockets of these pharmaceutical companies who are then using some of that money to keep cannabis out of the marketplace. It couldn't be more disgusting. It couldn't be more hurtful and murderous. They are the ones who hooked people on their OxyContin and opioid-based medicines in the first place. They're the reason that we have an opioid crisis, along with governments supporting them and the government policies that also are there to keep cannabis out of the marketplace in any way that would help people get off of opioids. We are living in very, very corrupt times. And on that note, we have a court date coming up to attempt to penalize us for responding to the public health emergency 5.5 years ago. Rather than give us licenses and medals for all the great work that we've done, we're getting taken to court in an attempt to penalize us. Our court date is August 17th, as I said, coming up. If you're in Vancouver or in the area, please come down to 222 Main Street at around 8:30 in the morning next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow on the 17th. The more people that are there, the more show of people that we have, the more chance we have of getting a good result. Besides, you get to watch this whole spectacle of corruption unfold right before your eyes and just see how corrupt our society is, and our courts are, and our justice system is, and our government is, and the pharmaceutical companies are. Not that we really want to know this stuff. I'm sure it hurts all of us to understand these things, but we need to know. We need to know because we need to fix it. This needs fixing. It needs fixing fast. I've been saying all along in my 25 years of cannabis activism that the whole idea of prohibiting cannabis is the most glaring and obvious example of us not being free. There was never any justification for prohibiting cannabis. It started down in the States with laws designed to hold back immigration and people taking jobs from people and white women sleeping with jazz musicians that were black. Those sorts of things. But really, it was always all about money. It has always been all about money. It was 1935 that Popular Mechanics came out with their magazine, and on the front cover it said, "Cannabis, the first billion-dollar crop in America," because they had discovered this, or invented this machine that would help to process cannabis plants like never before. And the possibilities of cannabis for all the different things that it could be used for meant that it would likely be the United States' first billion-dollar crop. But that didn't happen. And the reason is because the following year, the federal government in the United States came up with the Cannabis Stamp Act, where any farmer that wanted to grow cannabis had to get a stamp from the federal government and pay quite a hefty fee for that, and many were more than willing to do it. They'd been growing cannabis and using it to make money for a long time. They didn't want to give up that crop, but they had to. They had to because the trick was there was no stamps to be obtained from the government offices in their local towns when it came time to put the crops in. So farmers anxious and upset about what to do now, were given subsidies to grow other crops. And literally in 1 year, the entire market, or the entire industry of cannabis production in the United States was wiped out. All to protect pharmaceutical interests and the interests of other providers for other things that people can get patents on. It's all corruption. There was never any justification. They lied about it, though. They said there was. They had to, of course. So through the few media outlets that there were at the time, there weren't many, Lifetime, Maclean's magazines, those sorts of things, and the daily newspapers, most of them put out by William Randolph Hearst, told lies, talked about reefer madness, talked about people getting violent and insane using cannabis, killing people. William Randolph Hearst, for example, in all of his newspapers, started writing that whenever there was a violent crime, the perpetrator was seen smoking a reefer beforehand. Well, we all know now that none of that was true. We had the Schaefer inquiry in the United States at the same time as we had the Ledane Commission here in Canada that clearly stated that there was no justification for any criminal penalties to do with cannabis. And that cannabis didn't make people violent and insane. It made them calm and relaxed, peaceful, maybe a little bit hungry. But certainly nothing to ever use the criminal law against. But here we are. It's all these years later. The Ledane Commission came out in 1969 with a report. 1969. We're in 2022. And we're still using the criminal law against people to do with cannabis. All because of money, greed, and corruption. And that's what's going on. So come to the court date if you can and support us. On the other side of it, Health Canada, after almost 2 years, has decided that their intention is to deny our application with no justification. We've never harmed anybody. We've never had a complaint against us. We've dispensed tens of millions of milligrams of high-dose edibles into this neighborhood. No one's ever been harmed. Thousands of people have been helped. But Health Canada's intent is to deny our application. They're not going to deny it because we've harmed anybody. They admit that. They're going to deny it because we're not using cannabis that comes, all of it, from them. It's not all legal. So I guess the non-legal cannabis is just too dangerous to be putting out there in this neighborhood where people are dying from fentanyl, crystal meth, crack cocaine, alcohol, those other hard drugs. But I guess non-legal cannabis is more dangerous than those things, according to Health Canada, because they won't allow us to be dispensing that. Of course, if we use legal cannabis, they even talk to us about it. So I'm making all this up. I don't really know. I don't really know what their intentions are, what their motives are. But if we get it from them, I'm pretty sure they're going to want their slice. Right now, the federal government takes $1 a gram for every gram of cannabis sold in Canada, right off the top. $448 on every single pound of cannabis that's sold in government stores in Canada. It's a huge amount. Not as huge as it would be if they had good cannabis that people have trusted and most people would use, but it's still a huge amount of money because there's a lot of people that are forced into government stores. Soldiers, for example, that have PTSD and get authorization to use cannabis will have to go through the government system to get it, and many other people as well. It is a huge, unjustified money grab. How much does the federal government take on tomatoes, blueberries, cherries, strawberries, anything else? Not much. Not much at all. Because you can buy all of those things for well under $10 a pound. In fact, nobody in Canada would pay more than $10 a pound for any of those other fruits and vegetables that are out there. Even the most exotic blueberries, cherries, strawberries, and the rest of it. $6.99 a pound usually. And that's too expensive for most people. Too expensive for most people with families on a budget, with a number of kids that are going to consume those things really fast. That's too expensive at $6.99 a pound. But the government wants you to pay, well, who knows how much, because some of their crappy stuff is $10 a gram. You can buy good stuff from them for $18 a gram. They're now considering craft cannabis to be part of the mix, which is going to be better than their good cannabis, and I'm sure that's going to be upwards of $20 to $24 a gram. $24 a gram is $10,000 for 1 pound of a plant material that is produced, or can be produced, just as easily, in fact easier, than all of those other fruits and vegetables that I mentioned. Sure, you can grow cannabis expensively. That's fine. You can go indoors and use hydro. That's expensive. You can buy all kinds of fancy lights and stuff because you're going to need that to try to mimic what the sun does. And lots of other things, air conditioners, dehumidifiers, living soil, pots, and all the rest that have to be supplied by the connoisseur growers who want to grow it like that. And their cannabis is expensive because of it, because they're putting a lot of money into it. And they've also got many years of experience, and that's worth something for sure. And they create employment. They hire people to do the clipping. Not all of them. Some of them do it by machine. But many others are paying $25 for people to come and trim their cannabis. And that's all fine. I never had a problem with high-end, expensive cannabis in stores for sale to people. People want to buy that. That's their business. They can go ahead and buy it. But for all those people that can't afford $4,480 for a pound of the crap, they're not being served at all by this. For them, prohibition is still alive and well. And for all of those growers and dealers of cannabis that can't get into the government system or wouldn't want to be as part of the government system, they're all still criminals. In fact, they upped the penalties against those people. They increased the amount of tax dollars being used on enforcement against those people. So prohibition is alive and well when it comes to the poor people and the sick people that need cannabis every day. You know, the ones that really need it. The rich people, the people that have enough money to afford $4,480 a gram for the low-end stuff, well, they can go and buy it in a government store. And many of them feel like, hey, this is legalization. We're free now. Not really realizing the absorbent amount of money that they're having to pay for this. So yeah, that's the state of legalization in Canada. It's an attempted hostile takeover of the cannabis industry by the federal government's cartel. And they're keeping prohibition alive and well because all those different agencies that are making money off of having cannabis illegal didn't want to give that up. So they all get to have the cut of their pie because they still have lots of things to enforce. Because growers aren't going to stop growing because now it's illegal for them to grow with legalization. That doesn't make any sense. It was illegal for them to grow before legalization. So why would they stop now just because they're illegal? Well, they won't. And they didn't. And that's why there's a lot of cannabis out in the marketplace that isn't government cannabis. And that will continue. As long as the government has crappy cannabis at absorbent prices, there's going to be gray market cannabis or green market cannabis. That's just that for that. And they don't mind. They don't care. In fact, they like that because that gives them more to enforce. That gives their friends more to get money for. This is all extremely corrupt. 419. Comes up pretty fast. You got a minute to roll, and I got a minute to wrap up. I think I've said it all, haven't I? We live in a corrupt world. The access to cannabis is limited to the rich people, and it's the poor people, the people that are suffering, especially those people here that are poor, homeless in many cases, addicted to hard drugs. It's out of reach for them, and it's the thing they need the most. It's the thing that will really work for them. It's not a Band-Aid that maintains an addiction. It's a cure. It's a solution. I know now hundreds of people that claim cannabis saved their life. That they were involved in a horrible cycle of using hard drugs that they couldn't quit because they couldn't get through withdrawal until they found cannabis. Cannabis, high-dose edibles, works for people. It's worked for hundreds of people. It's not universal, and it doesn't work for everybody, but it probably could work for just about everybody, except that there's a problem, and that is that there's no proper instructions to do with these high-dose edibles. They're not being dispensed in standardized dosages from stores that can tell you how much is in them, and they're not being sold with warnings about eating too much. That's the biggest problem we have at the Cannabis Substitution Program, is that the people that we supply it to eat too much. It's tasty, for one thing. Most edibles are cooked by bakers that put love into it and sugar, and they really like it. And they're hungry. And they like the effect, so they eat more. And then they don't like the effect because they ate too much. But at the right dose, done properly, starting low and going slow, cannabis can be effective to help people get through withdrawal almost every time. Yet the government is not only ignoring this solution that we have demonstrated so clearly works so well, they're actively plotting against us. The federal government does not want what we're saying has to happen. Without it, we're going to continue to have thousands of deaths in all walks of life, Canada and around the world, from an opioid crisis perpetrated by government policy and foisted upon us by pharmaceutical companies who only care about money. And in fact, they even care to harm and kill the poor, the sick, the addicted. They actively want to eliminate them from society. I was dealing with a fellow who was overdosing this last week. A police car happened by and I flagged him down. He needed some help. I wasn't capable of giving him all the help that he needed. He was face down on the sidewalk with his rear end up on the sidewalk. Or pardon me, he was face down on the roadway with his rear end up on the sidewalk. And, he needed a couple people to help get him straightened up and to help him not overdose. But the police here in Vancouver have stopped carrying the naloxone kits. They couldn't give him a Narcan injection, which is what he needed, and he got from somebody on the street here, because they stopped carrying those kits. I said, why would you not have naloxone? Budget cuts is what they told me. Budget cuts. The idea of budget cuts is not to eliminate a life-saving tool that is freely available to anybody who wants them, but yet that's what they've done. And that is just a big indicator of what they care about and what they don't. It's outrageous. In any case, it's now 4:22. Sorry about that. Glenn is sitting in the wings. He's going to come in now and
patiently sitting in the wings.
Yeah, patiently sitting there going, Neil, it's been a few minutes now.
I put the joint in the mouth the other.
You're going to light it.
It's 4:20.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Oh, well,
we know you like to talk.
4:19 came too fast.
It did.
It did.
It did.
So what am I smoking? I got something else you brought me here?
Yeah,
what's that now?
Super pink.
Not just pink, but super pink.
Super pink, yeah. And Neil's smoking some super pink today.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, and there's Sadie. Hi, Sadie. You gonna come and say hi to everybody?
Like Glenn's here.
I know you're not allowed up on the table.
Yeah.
But you can look into the camera over there and say hi to everybody. Oh, look at those sad eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Sadie Sad Eyes has been such a wonderful, wonderful addition to our little family here, for sure. And she's not terribly camera shy, so that's all great.
Oh, that's good.
But we need a 420 break.
Yep. And that's what we're out here for.
When you're dealing with high levels of corruption that are killing thousands of people every once in a while, like once a day,
gotta smoke some cannabis.
You need to inhale some of the magical vapors of the cannabis plant to balance your brain out and to allow some perspective.
Yep, to take it in, right?
Life is all about balance.
Oh, wow.
So when the world is corrupt, you need to have some...
Yeah, I think we get more positive balance than we get negative, and it's all what we focus on. You can always
100%.
find something somewhere, somehow. Yeah, there's probably certain times where you really hard to find some positive stuff about it, but I think with most things...
Yeah, you go for a walk down the lane there over Hastings
Street,
and it's pretty hard to see anything positive of what's going on there at all.
Yeah.
It's a very depressing walk.
And like I was saying today, the government just wants to give them more of their drugs and not help them get off it with cannabis. It's so stupid.
That's the obvious thing that's going on here. If they want to support pharmaceutical companies,
yeah.
They don't want to support
they don't want
barrier
healthy
access.
Canadians, yeah.
Healthy Canadians do not make pharmaceutical companies money.
But cannabis would not be filling up their treatment centers that they promised all these contracts to people and stuff like that either. So, So
on last week's show, we talked a little bit about the BC survey that happened where they said that 71% of people are accessing the government stores. Is that what it was?
Something like that.
And Neil has done some in-depth looking at that survey to find that there's a lot not right with that. And that's what we said on the show last week. This isn't right. We know it's not right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came out of that survey is that it betters people's health and wellness. And
finally, some truth.
What were the statistics, Neil, on the people that are not... Neil, I'm going to call you Neil now.
60% of people, 64 I think,
64%
said that
by using cannabis,
their life
in
many different ways. Mood, appetite, sleep, all sorts of things. Sorry, not appetite, but sleep. And
right.
Well, it does do appetite for people with cancer patients.
That wasn't mentioned in the...
Okay, but we all know that.
The other thing that was mentioned is that a fairly large percentage of people are now... if they're using cannabis, they've reduced the use of at least one other drug.
Yeah, between 63 and 73%, depending on whether they have an interest in medical or not, and whether it was their intent or not, it has reduced the amount of at least one other drug they're taking.
Like alcohol or opioids or SSRIs or whatever other types of drugs.
And my doctor reports to me that patients are coming to him saying they don't like the side effects of pharmaceuticals and they prefer the cannabis. And so him and his team, where I go, are all cannabis, on board with cannabis and helping people out with cannabis. So.
And that includes recreational use.
Yeah.
So even if people are using opiates not medicinally, they're saying, I mean, what does that mean, right? But
even if they're using it at parties on the weekends.
But they're taking less of it if they're also smoking weed.
Okay. Yeah. So, wow, eh?
Well, we all know this. I mean,
we've known this
for a long, long time. Cannabis is a great benefit to people for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to mention there, I was very privileged to be able to go and see Dosed 2 last Wednesday night.
Okay.
That's an awesome movie.
You got to see the whole thing?
Yeah. I went to the theater.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, no. We went to the theater. Not only did we get the whole thing, but 15 of the different participants in the movie were all there at the end.
Uh-huh.
And I forget what time the movie ended, maybe 8:30, something like that.
Yeah.
According to their schedule, it was supposed to be over around 9:30.
Oh, so
they went to almost 11 o'clock with questions and answers with the 15 people on the stage that were part of the movie answering questions from the public.
Wow. And were the questions good? Like,
there was many good questions for sure.
And do you think the people...
And I thought the answers were fantastic. To the point where I really didn't feel like I had anything to contribute. You know, I'll get up and ask a question if I think that there's things that weren't covered that people need to know. You know.
Yeah.
But I really paid attention to that, and I thought that the experts on the stage, the doctors that were there, and everybody else did a really good job of addressing all the different questions that came up. I did want to get up to the microphone. I was sitting 4 rows back from the stage for the question and answer, and I was just watching for I wanted to be the last person to the mic, and I wanted to say that as someone who's heavily entrenched in the fight with the federal government to get permission to use cannabis and mushrooms for people in low barrier access, that I had an awful lot to say. But I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank them for the efforts that they put into this movie and for the fact that they were staying there well beyond the time that they were scheduled to be to make sure that everybody got their question answered. But they cut off the questions before I could do that. But I did go to the stage right when it ended, and they were all still sitting there, and I just yelled at them. I didn't yell all at them. I just yelled at them, thank you all so much for the efforts to make this movie and for staying late and taking questions. And then I went up and talked a little bit to a couple of the participants in there. I had a good conversation with Dr. Rob Seeley, or short but good, in that he's going to support us. In fact, it had been mentioned to him the week prior that he should do something to help the Cannabis Substitution Program. So he was aware of us.
This guy in the,
so Dosed 2
right?
follows the journey of a family where the mother of 4 adult children is diagnosed with colon cancer. And the anxiety that follows that for someone who's caring about her family and all of that. And she ends up getting a Section 56 exemption. One of the first people, if not the first person to get that. I'm not sure. Someone said she was the first, but I'm not sure that's true. But in any case, through the efforts of THC...
She was in the first 6, I believe. Within the first 6.
Within the first half dozen. So THC, this non-profit company that works out of Victoria, or Vancouver Island rather, managed to get her a Section 56 exemption so that she could use mushrooms, magic mushrooms, because they gave her 6 to 12 months to live.
All right. Is that the lady I seen on the news?
No, I don't think so.
Who finally got permission to use magic mushrooms?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you saw.
Okay. Yeah, no.
But so she got to do that, and it changed her life.
Yeah.
I mean, her testimony on that, she witnessed such a huge change in her anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's what she was going for. She had a few different bouts with that cancer. They had serious surgery done to remove it. It came back. When it came back for the 3rd time, she was not willing to have that invasive surgery again. It would leave her limping, and she had really reconnected with nature at that point. And so she decided she would just take her fate. And that would be that for that.
Wow,
continue to take some pills to offset some of the stuff, to keep it at bay a little bit.
Yeah.
But she had just resigned herself to that fact. Well, then she gets put on to a doctor who is going to give her cannabis, a full extract cannabis oil. And she goes on a gram a day for 60 days. Mm-hmm. And don't you know it, the tumors shrunk down to almost nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what a story. And the point is that these compounds help people.
Yeah.
They can prolong your life from serious illness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The mushrooms can give you some peace of mind, can relieve anxiety and depression and pain and these other things. PTSD. Many people have used mushrooms to escape addiction.
Yeah.
I'm here to witness that people are using high-dose cannabis edibles to escape addiction.
Yeah.
These are profound, natural medicines from our environment that have been used for millennia. Mm-hmm. You know, the history of the use of psychedelic plants and cannabis goes back thousands of years.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of years.
It was never demonized and criminalized until the last 100 years or so.
And we just lost another cannabis lawyer, Olivia Newton-John.
Yes.
She was Australian's cannabis fighter.
She lived to be 73.
Yeah, because of cannabis.
Because of cannabis. I mean, she was diagnosed with breast cancer years and years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she lived to be 73.
She
I don't even think I appreciate when they say on the news that she died of breast cancer. When you're 73 years of age, you died of old age.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, but they did mention that she had cannabis helped her. They showed her that her husband was growing the cannabis for her.
Right.
They showed her, the touching the leaves and like how much she liked the cannabis plant. So
I got to see a picture of her with Andrew Cavellis, a good friend of mine from Australia.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that he was helping her in some way. I don't really know. But, they knew each other. They had his pictures of her.
She really
she was a warrior for a long time.
Yeah.
So
and she just passed away too.
So these things work.
Yeah.
It's clear as day.
Yeah.
Like, there's no argument. The science is in now. Reefer madness was bullshit. Yeah. It's all been discredited. This is medicine. It is prescribed in Canada by thousands of doctors. Mm-hmm. It is sold in more stores in the United States and California than there are Starbucks.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, still criminalizing people, still restricting access to people, and ruining people's lives and not allowing people to get the help that they need when they're suffering.
Especially
all for greed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the world. You know, I mean, I don't know.
We'll get there.
But we're really finding out that the corporate agenda is not good for humans or the planet.
People will come into government. They will have the change of the mind that where these old folks, they're all against.
Well, we hoped that a long time ago.
Well,
right?
I know, but
and there are new young conservatives that still think that people shouldn't be allowed to have these things, and it's the role of government to protect you from yourself and these dangerous plants. I couldn't believe it. Young people spouting that type of prohibitionist bullshit in this world today, where their grandparents were probably weed smokers. You know? I mean, back in my day growing up, the grandparents were the ones that were so against anybody using cannabis. Yeah. Many of them were drinkers because alcohol was the culture of the day, believe me, and you know I'm sure.
Yeah, there was all over
everybody
billboards and movies and smoking cigarettes.
If you weren't a right-wing Christian, Protestant Christian, because the Catholics were all about using, alcohol and cigarettes and then asking forgiveness on the weekends.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, some of the very stout Christian people, and I came from one of those families, where there was no alcohol, there was no cigarettes, although my grandpa had a past of drinking. I found that out. But by the time I was a kid, my grandpa was on board with my grandma and my parents and everybody else on that side of the age ledger, where, oh man, looking down their noses while they're sipping their beer and their whiskey and their brandy, and talking about those lousy, low-life weed smokers. I mean, I know lots of people that came from families of heavy, heavy drinkers.
Yeah.
And when those families found out that person was smoking weed, it was like, oh my God, the world was coming to an end. You're horrible. Yeah.
You're a horrible person. You're revolting against the norm.
Oh, man. And that's what it was before. And I always hoped that eventually the young people with the new understandings would get into those positions of influence, and then we wouldn't have all this insanity. But the insanity continues, and you know why? Because there's money in it. There's righteous indignation and there's money.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to be better than other people that are not using the drugs that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're making money on it, well, that's even more motivation to keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
So many people, pharmaceutical reps, doctors, the people that work for pharmaceutical companies, they spread their billions of dollars around and keep people preaching their message, you know? Trust the doctors, trust the science, don't trust nature, don't trust God, you know? Those herbs are voodoo medicine, you're just a drug addict. If you're popping pills every day or drinking all the time or smoking cigarettes, you're not a drug addict. Alcohol's not even a drug, for God's sakes, you know?
Right. Just like nicotine was good for you, too, I guess.
Yeah, recommended by your favorite doctor.
I prefer the cannabis.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I had a company send me a vaporizer.
Very cool.
Yes, I just put some shatter in it. It's called a Reliefy.
Right?
Yeah, it comes in a nice little case.
It looks very cool.
You want to try a puff?
Sure, I do.
All right, well, I got to push it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well,
See,
there it
cannabis.
is. Well, wait, now we have to set the temperature. So we got 4. So 1, 2, 3. There's red. 1, 2, 3. There's green. Let's try green. So I think we just hold the button and
Hold the button and inhale.
And inhale, yeah. I think. I didn't read that far in. I just watched how to turn it on. Anything? Oh,
I think I got something.
Nice, eh?
You shouldn't really
There
be
you
able
go.
to blow out much when it's
No.
vapor. But, yeah, no, that tastes very good. It feels good. It feels nice in your hand.
That's just the second
No
temperature.
complaints. I don't know what the price is, but
I like the color too, blue. Thank you very much. If you guys are in California, you can look up online.
Speaking of blue, look what I got.
I know.
So this shirt was Greg Williams' shirt. Rest in weed, Greg. I love you, buddy. I miss you so much.
We all miss you.
And Rose was so kind in providing me with a few of Greg's belongings.
Yeah, a nice
today,
shirt. Yeah.
including this beautiful shirt. And it actually came with the THC button on it. I didn't put that on it. This came with it.
And did you give him one?
Oh, yeah.
So you just so it came back. That's nice. That's
So I guess Rose saw this shirt with this in the collection and decided that was a good one for Neil. And one from Nimbin and a vest and a beautiful tie. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And Rose, thank you so much for thinking about me. And I know I think about Greg regularly. There's seldom a day goes by that I don't think about my friends that have departed. Bert, most recently here, that I'm still having a real hard time coming to grips with that, you know. I don't understand.
I always look at it as we all have to leave the earth eventually.
Yeah, but I went for so many years without
just don't know when it's going to
losing
happen.
anybody.
Right? We just don't know when it's
I said that all along, you know. I know that life is fragile and any day could be anybody's last day. And I've been a believer and a preacher of that for quite a long time, you know.
Yeah.
But I went for a long time in my life without losing many friends
Me
and
too.
many people.
I just never really keep track and just how many I've lost or how many
I know when a friend dies.
Yeah.
You
Like I
know?
lost my grandmother, my grandfather, and stuff like that. Right? I've lost. My kids have lost half sisters to fentanyl and stuff. So yeah.
But the barrage of young people.
Yeah.
And I consider Greg young too.
Yep.
You know, and Jason, the barrage of young people that have passed away in the last few years in my life and in the life of many other people is just bizarre. It's
It's crazy.
Why?
Well,
I don't get it.
We'll get another stretch of 10 years where we don't lose anybody, right?
I'm getting too old for that.
You're getting too old for that.
Well, now I got old friends, and,
Yeah.
and I know that some of them are going to pass on, and I'm
old
okay
friends,
with
that's
that.
happening,
You know, Dr. Paul Hornby passed away as well
Yeah.
recently, and that's a big loss. But he wasn't a young man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I can accept that. He lived a great long life, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's these young people, and like Bert. You know, Bert was 43 years old.
Mm-hmm.
43 years old, 2 little kids. I mean,
Big
blood
man.
clots in the
clot.
lungs.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't know why that would happen. I don't know if it's connected to anything that's been going on in the last couple of years. I don't know.
Strokes because blood clots in the brain, right?
Stress,
Yeah.
you know, is a killer.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And we've all been under a lot of stress in the last couple of years, so maybe that's part of the answer. I don't really know, Glenn.
Sure.
But I know it really reinforces for me that that credo that Van Du has here,
Mm-hmm.
which is we live and we live good for those who can't
Yeah.
and those who are gone.
Yeah.
That's not word for word what they use there, but that's the essence of what it is.
Essence,
we
yeah.
live because they can't.
Yeah.
Because at a place like Vandu, during a multi-year opioid crisis of overdose deaths, anybody involved in that organization knows a lot of people who are no longer here. And what do you do about that? You know, what is because the people that are left behind are the ones that have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones are gone. They don't know nothing. But when you've lost a loved one, some people never get over it.
No.
There was a fellow here who was
Yeah.
thanking us for saving his life by providing him cannabis because
Yeah.
for the first time in many years, he's now gotten off of the drugs that he's been on since his wife died. So he was just an ordinary guy in society with his young wife of 30 years of age, 33 I think he said she was, and she had a brain aneurysm and died in her sleep.
Oh, wow. Eh?
She doesn't even know what happened.
Nope. My uncle did the
But
same thing.
he
died in his
woke
sleep.
up to his
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
dead beside him.
That's hard.
It's been so hard that it's
Yeah.
been many, many years for that person, and he ended up down
That's
here,
like
and
a
he ended up
PTSD.
addicted to drugs,
Uh-huh.
and he's been so depressed about it for so long.
Wow.
And now, thanks to cannabis, his claim, he's been able to stop those drugs that were really causing him more problems as well, as we
Yeah.
all know. And
come to terms.
you never stop grieving.
Yeah, no,
You
but
know,
you come to terms.
But
with
you
it.
come to terms with it. You
Yeah.
find a way to live because they can't.
Can't, exactly.
And that's the thing
And
that we
they-
say
because
to
they
each
would
other.
want you to continue
That's
with
exactly
good
what I
life.
was going to say.
Yeah.
That
They
we
would
say to
want
each
you to.
other, hey man, your friend wouldn't want you to just be miserable now for the rest of your life.
That's not
His
what they-
wife
yeah.
would not have wanted him to get
No.
addicted to hard drugs and cycle down onto the downtown
Yeah.
east side and
Yeah.
suffer
Yeah.
for all of these years. So somehow we must find ways of looking at these things that allow us to keep living
Yeah.
and living good. You know, just to live isn't enough.
Wow.
To survive
We-
is
we-
not
we
enough.
need maybe like treatment centers for grief.
Of course we
Right,
do.
so we could show.
Jade Ridge was
Yeah.
going to do that in Surrey before she had to leave, but
Yeah,
she had a
for
brilliant
grief.
idea.
Yeah, because that would really
of putting
help a
together
lot of
people that were grieving.
There might not be some people that wouldn't help, but it would probably help a lot of people just to turn their
does help
thoughts
people,
around,
you know?
right? Yeah.
I've learned that, and that's what I had to say at Bert's celebration of life, is that I thanked everybody for coming
Yeah.
because it's really important that we share these things with each other, that we
I
see that
carry
other people are
Bert
feeling
with me in
similar
my
things.
bag. I've got the vial. He goes everywhere I go.
Nice.
Everywhere, to every party. He was in Kelowna this weekend. He's going to be in Calgary next weekend.
I'm bringing him with me to the Mom Cup.
You bring him? Yeah, he'll be at the Mom Cup. Yeah.
Which reminds me that there's a cup coming up here
Yeah.
at the end of August. It's August 26th, 27th, and 28th. It's the Mom Cup, the Mail Order Marijuana Cup, the third incarnation of that. It's going to be a blast.
Yours truly
I've been
is
involved
co-hosting.
in the previous two,
Yeah.
and those cups are epic, to
Yeah.
say the least. Asia Moon knows how to put on a party, and
does.
she certainly does that.
And there's some adult entertainment apparently on Fridays and Saturdays too.
I did not know that.
I just found out that there will be a 4-hour thing for the girls on Friday night and then for the guys on Saturday night. And they did that because they know that some families may be coming, so the wives can go one night and the men can go the next night, whether we're watching the children. They
Oh,
can swap
Asia.
out, right? So it's $100 a ticket, and that ticket goes to their Harvest charity, I think it is, that she's doing. And it's 4 hours of fun, painting, poker.
Oh, it is fun, man.
And yeah, and it's XXX.
So during the second Mom Cup,
Yeah,
they had this famous artist,
yeah.
totally famous artist.
Yeah.
I mean, he has done some amazing portraits over the years, very well known. And she had him do a portrait of Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
He has a unique painting style.
Okay.
He was blessed with an extra long schlong.
Yes, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
Is that the one that was here?
How could you forget
Yeah,
that guy?
I know. Yeah,
I don't get to see most guys like that.
It was somebody's birthday too, wasn't it?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, one of the guys said that, or Asia's one of her boyfriend's birthday or something.
Man, I'm so high at these cups, I can't tell you shit
I
like
remember
that.
Yeah.
I remember this guy whipping
Yeah.
it out, come in dressed as a RCMP officer,
Yeah.
sit in his big, cozy, easy boy recliner, pull out his favorite picture of Justin Trudeau, smoke a big fatty,
Yeah.
I don't think there was any words spoken.
No, though.
But it was really clear what the message was. This RCMP guy, he loved his prime minister. And so he puts down the portrait beside his big easel there and whips off his RCMP suit. And starts dipping it into paint and putting it on the canvas.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And I mean, I had a full view of the canvas, thankfully. I only had his backside for the most part, so I didn't get a full-on too much of what would have been too much.
Too much, yeah.
For me, anyway. Some people like that kind of thing, but for me, it was a little bit shocking for sure. Not really what I wanted to see, but I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
As that picture started taking shape. Holy crap, was that ever Trudeau?
Yeah.
Like 100%. He drew, he did a picture, a portrait of Trudeau.
The painting at the end.
Oh, big time, for lots of money.
Yeah.
And he had done portraits of George Bush and Donald Trump and all of these other people. And back before Donald Trump was who he is today, I mean, he was always who he is today, but he wasn't president, past president, getting raided at Mar-a-Lago there.
Wow.
But yeah, this guy was incredible and did that. So that was part of the cup. I'm not surprised that Asia is going to do that.
Yeah,
so
something like that. Or, I don't
so
know,
there's still 3 sponsorship spots available for that cup. It's a $250 one, a $300 one, and a $1,000 one. I would jump on those. That's going to be an awesome time.
It's 250, 500, and 1,000.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yes, that's what it is. 250, 500, and 1,000.
Thank you for correcting me. We try to tell the truth here.
We don't want to do somebody say, "Hey, I heard Neil say it was only $300. Now what happened to $500? What's going on?" So I did believe it was 250, 500, and 1,000. Yes.
All right, and I was going on what I heard you say, but obviously I didn't hear it right from you.
There was other people.
You get something third, fourth hand, and you're never quite sure, right? That's a qualifier out there. I try to tell the truth all the time. Doesn't mean I always do.
No.
It's easy to not tell the truth. Holy smokes. It's hard to know what the truth is lots of times, right? But we're truth seekers here, you and me, and that's what the show's all about. So we try to find the truth. We try to tell the truth. So thank you for correcting me on that.
No problem.
There's going to be glass demos. There's going to be a competition amongst the bands. So that should be great. And it's a camping event. So
family friendly.
And I was told there's campers there that you can rent.
Oh,
now,
really?
This is getting also third or fourth hand.
Okay.
But I was told today that for $420, it includes a judge's kit, and you get a camper that'll sleep a few people that you can have.
Wow, that'd be nice.
That
would be cool.
That sounds good.
I haven't heard that one yet.
And speaking of camping, there's another amazing cup coming up right after that. So the following weekend in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, there's the Prairie Harvest Cup. The Friendly Cup, because you just have so much fun and everybody's always so great there. It's just a wonderful thing. It got that name organically from the beginning. Myself and Greg and numerous other people from cannabis culture would make the trek to Saskatoon and have just the best time and be so impressed.
I got a bronze medal the last cup for guessing the right weight.
Nice.
Yes.
I came in third for joint rolling one time.
Third for joint rolling.
Yeah.
And I thank you for
speed rolling.
I still have that hanging in my room. So
nice.
It was real fun.
And that's going to happen again this year as well. The Cannabis Olympics, which is unique to the Prairie Harvest Cup, is back again this year, and that is always such a blast. There's going to be glass blowing going on there as well. I think there's actually going to be a glass blowing competition or something. He said something unique about that.
Redbeard's going to be there.
I heard that as well. That's awesome to see him again. Redbeard is a legend.
And blowing glass.
And blowing glass.
I hope he's got
without
a few
quite
free samples
without
so we can
quite
give
the
up to
beard.
30 grams. Oh, without the beard?
Without quite the beard.
Oh, it's growing back.
It's growing back.
Okay, it's growing
I
back.
saw a picture of him fairly recently there driving around in his kid's sports car.
Nice.
And so he's still got a bit of a beard going on, but not what he had before. I'm sure it's on its way. It just takes a little while. I see
you're wearing tie-dye, and so am I. And this came from Krista. Jen got one, too.
Right.
Krista C.W. Parker. She actually makes them, and they're about $20 a t-shirt. So
right. I've got another one that she made for me as well.
You got one? So, we should all wear our shirts one day.
And you should wear them to the Prairie Cup.
Krista,
you should wear them to the Prairie Cup. Tickets go on sale tonight or something? No, I know. Somebody told me that was something else. I'm so sorry. But you can check that out at saskprairiecup.ca.
There you go.
And he needs more sponsors and vendors to be there. And I highly recommend that you go there if you're a vendor or a sponsor. It's always been a super, super good place to network with people. And so many contacts are made at the Prairie Cup. That's part of why it's called the Friendly Cup.
It is.
It's just a really friendly weekend for sure, and a lot of good contacts and connections are made there. And so that I really recommend that you take that advantage and go there. Who knows how long we're going to have these cups? We do have a few in a row right here at this point, and that's great.
Yeah.
So
and they're coming back.
They're coming back.
Well, hopefully they're coming back.
And they're coming back strong. So get on that stuff, and especially if you have not gotten into the legal system and you have good products that you need to get out there. This is the way that you do that. Of course, I'm sure all the people know that, but growers, people that provide for people, all that kind of stuff. This is how you get to be known, and especially if you've got good products, put those products in to be judged. The very judging of them alone gets your name there, everybody sees it, everybody tries it, and you might win.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's even more special. But even if you don't win, you have still had a whole bunch of people try your product, and even though you didn't win, you got votes.
Yeah.
People voted for you. People liked your product, and they're going to come back and they're going to contact you.
Awesome.
So these cups are great for that, and the Prairie Cup is.
Next year we have a whole line of them back again, like with the ones like in the Okanagan and on the island we had a High Times, and what was it? It starts with a C.
Well, there was the High Times Cup that was in that was on the island.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
I opened that one with Cannabis.
I went to that. Yeah.
And before that, it had a different name, owned by some different people, and it was bought by the High Times people, but I don't remember exactly what it was called.
Alien something? No, I can't remember either. And, I want to say thank you to Reliefy. The torch is really cool. So.
Yeah,
I like
but
this.
On that point, these things are great. They're fabulous events to attend. There's memories made. There's connections made. There's all kinds of commerce that happens. But if you're looking for a good time, if you're out there now thinking, hey, I can travel, I can go places, I can do things. These are the things you want to go to if you're a cannabis consumer. If you've never been to one, you want to check that out. It is something you will never forget. It'll last you your whole lifetime. They're all great. I have so many memories. I think this is the 9th or 10th Prairie Harvest Cup. Shame on me for not knowing that. The 10th. I think it's the 10th.
Yes, because you wanted to have 10.
Yeah.
I remember something.
Yeah, it's the 10th. I'm sure it is.
The 10th, I do believe, yes.
And so.
So much to remember.
Oh, man. Well, it's right after the 420 session. What do you expect?
And then the cup after that one?
It's the super pink, and it's the hit of shatter.
There you go. Probably. There you go. Let's have some more.
Actually. So, yes, there's other things. There's the Karma Cup coming up right after that.
A week after.
In
Toronto.
Yeah, the 10th and 11th.
Go from west to east.
So, yeah, well, what a trip, eh?
I know, eh?
Oh, I should mention, Mike, Mike Rita.
Yeah, Rita.
I was going to say, I almost said Reno. Mike Reno.
That's what it says on the paper.
I know, because I'm telling you, I could explain why. I mean, I've always been open about my health issues. I poisoned myself. Don't eat old salad dressing that you made a year ago from the fridge there, which I did Saturday evening before going to see the Lions play. I was really sick Saturday night. I guess eggs don't last that long in mayonnaise because it's a mayonnaise-based salad dressing that I make for myself, and I hadn't used it. Yeah, I went with Pat.
Pat called me and asked me if I wanted to go. I said, no, I'm going to Kelowna.
Oh, I'm really glad you were going to Kelowna.
Yeah, there you go. No, because you may have not eaten the salad.
Well, that's
you
true.
No,
I probably still
on a different timeline.
I probably still would have eaten the salad.
You think so?
I bought the salad stuff to make it. I don't let things go bad.
I
don't let things go bad. I wasn't going to let the lettuce and the tomatoes go bad, but I didn't give much thought to that salad dressing that I pulled out of there. But in hindsight, that's really the only thing that it could have been. So I was really sick Saturday night. When I get sick like that in my stomach, my stomach has a direct hotline to my brain, and it complains loudly. And so I had one of my famous headaches, although not as bad. And so, dumb like other times, I decided I could make it go away without taking the pills, because I don't like taking pharmaceutical pills. They really mess my stomach up.
Yeah.
So I laid there in bed all night with a headache, and I started the next day with a headache, and yesterday I decided to take a pill at 3 o'clock, and the headache went away. And here I am 24 hours later. I'm actually smoking some weed, and I'm feeling good.
Next time, don't forget the Pepto.
My brain is still a little bit mush. as I've been having trouble all day with things, and whatever. It is what it is. You guys,
Cannabis will get you there.
the THC Show, where you get to follow the demise of Neil Magnuson as he grows into old age and eventually disappears.
You would never
Speaking of which, this is the 150th episode of the THC Show.
Yeah, okay, so when is the 3-year coming up?
Well, it must be 3 years. Oh, it was the end of August.
Well, yeah,
I was going to ask Neil about
yeah.
that to find out for me.
Yeah, 'cause
sometime
we
around the
wanna
end of August.
Get a cake, right? Should we do
You
cake
got
again?
you got me a cake last time.
We had the one, we had the two.
We got to do the 3.
We got a 3. Got to do the 3,
But
right?
you see, I'm not eating sugar anymore.
Oh.
So cake is not. You see, I would have said right away to that we got to have a cake. I'd have gone, oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
But
okay.
to me, it was like,
All right,
yeah,
so
okay,
let's try
cake, whatever.
something
People
that's
can
not-
eat cake. I'm not having any.
How about we
Maybe
roll
just a
up a
little
really
bit.
big long joint that we can smoke instead?
Yeah, I don't need any of those things to really enjoy myself.
no,
I'm sure we'll be smoking good weed, and I might have a little piece of cake.
Oh,
And I have found that I can have a little bit of gelato, and it doesn't bother my stomach so much.
Maybe a cannabis drink that we could pop open, like.
I don't really do the edibles very much. You know
No.
what happened with me with the 2 cookies
Yeah.
a few weeks ago?
All right.
No, I'm good, Glenn. I'm happy.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
need anything to boost my enthusiasm.
Okay, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the pointed birthday hat with the elastic band, and it's gonna be big 3 on it. How's that?
All right. I've always been
You're
willing.
3 today.
I've always been willing to make a fool of myself if other people will
Well,
laugh.
Yeah, we don't do cake. We gotta whatever.
Yeah, no, I'll do that. I've never in the past turned down wearing something stupid and ridiculous just because I don't care.
Yeah.
If people laugh, then that's good. Because for me, I like if I can make somebody laugh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah,
and there you
me
go.
too,
That's
yeah,
how you get
me.
energy in this world, depending on what
Yeah.
you're motivated for. Even my little. See, I spilled some milk on myself here this morning.
People
Stupid
laugh,
little not mustache, but goatee. I guess it's nothing. It's really not. But it makes the odd person laugh. Someone come in, what's that? I'll say, oh, I spilled a little milk, and they go, ha ha. And I go, gotcha.
Eat your skunk stripe.
My skunk stripe.
There you go, eh?
Something else different. Because
Yeah.
my
It
motto.
looks like it's got skunk stripe a bit, right?
I just believe in have as much fun as you can.
Why not?
That has been my real motto for a long, long time. You know where that comes from? So, there's a book that was used, maybe still is, and referred to almost as the Bible
Yeah.
of psychics.
Uh-huh.
And it was written by this one particular individual who would go into a trance and then speak all kinds of amazing, factual, intricate knowledge about different subjects
Wow, eh?
in different voices, where he would have inside knowledge on the workings of all these different technical things, like holy smokes, right? So it became a volume of these trances that he'd gone into and answered these questions. So what they would do is he would go into a trance, and then they would ask him a question,
Yeah.
and he would come up with some personality to answer the question very technically, very accurately.
Wow.
And so here was this book. And that was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
All these things are very interesting to me.
I've been thinking that too, that maybe we do have memories of our past lives stored away in our brain. Maybe that's why we only
Well,
use
in this case, the
I
idea
don't know,
is
that's
he's a
exciting.
conduit of
Yeah,
people who are
he's getting
still
into those memories.
conscious and able to answer questions.
Wow, eh?
So maybe there's hope of an afterlife. So maybe the disappearance of Neil Magnuson in the not too distant future could result in me being somewhere else,
Maybe
where you
I'll
can
be-
access me through Glenn if he goes into a trance or something. If he smokes a big enough joint or something like that.
Somebody very close to me to us said that Health Canada should celebrate or award you with your certificate on your 3rd
Wouldn't that be nice?
anniversary. Yes.
Yes. The
Yes.
sooner the better, please.
Yeah, with a license. Yeah.
Man, to save your own skin at this point. My God, Health Canada, you realize how corrupt you're appearing to be. You are criminally negligent in your delinquency in not supporting us in any way in the years that we've been proving every single time that we are helping people. You've never even come and listened to the people that are here that say to us every day, thank you so much, you're saving my life.
Yeah.
So Health Canada, please, for your own goddamn sake, get it done right away.
Yeah.
So anyway, all of his answers
Yeah.
were long,
Yeah.
like droning on about all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. It was put to him, what is the purpose of life?
Yeah.
He said, to learn how to have fun.
Oh, really?
That was the answer.
That was it.
To learn how to have fun.
So is that why we
since-
feel so good when we're having fun? Like if you're a roller
If you want to
coaster
learn
enthusiast
something,
going down
if you
that,
want to learn something, make
Yeah.
it fun.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, of course.
If you want
yeah.
to remember something, make it fun.
Yeah, yeah,
You want to feel like you're in heaven, make it fun.
yeah.
Whatever you do. And that's why my credo has been ever since then, and that's years ago now, and that's why I end every show with the same statement: have as much fun as you can. The most important thing, whatever is happening in your life, and some of it is horrible, I understand that. In those cases, even more important, that you find a balance to have some fun.
So we need
to have
to
fun in whatever's going
Give all
on.
the comedians a teacher's training, and then they can go out and teach people things by making it funny, like all the comedians, right?
Isn't that what comedians do?
Well, they do,
I think
but
that
they do
they're-
it on a stage, and
They're just trying to entertain people
yeah,
and make money.
Yeah,
But lots of them have a social
but
conscience.
our teachers could be comedians.
They
Maybe
should
we
be comedians.
Yeah.
They should make it funny. Making it funny is
fun,
important. In fact, the history of most comedians is dark and depressing. They're coming out of trauma.
Yeah,
And comedy is what is born out of that.
Yeah.
So when these things are happening and they're not fun and there's drama all around you, find ways to have fun. Find ways to make fun. But I know that's so easy to say and so hard to do. And it isn't always possible, of course. And it isn't even always the right thing to do, of course. But the purpose of life is to learn how to have fun.
Yep.
To learn how to deal with all of these things that happen and still have fun. So, and I think when we're having the most fun, we're being the most productive.
Yeah.
We're making the most difference in the world.
Yeah. And we're putting out that fun energy, the good energy.
Exactly.
You can feel it, right?
So I think that's where that comes from. I know that's where that comes from with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, have as much fun as you can. It's the most important thing I think in the whole wide world. So also on August 23rd, we're going to have a decision, maybe, in the Warnicky-Seaman-Martin case.
Yeah.
That has been delayed by the replacement of the judge, which to me seems outrageous and cause for mistrial if they don't get a good judgment. But they should get a good judgment. The court case was complete with all the evidence any reasonable person could get, in my opinion, to support access to cannabis for medical purposes, which is what was going on with these three gentlemen and what they were doing in their towns.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that the judge will see that. And on the government side, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. They basically presented only one witness. Not basically, they presented one witness, and he was an employee of Health Canada who was hired after all of the decisions were made with respect to what happened here in this case. And every time they asked him a question, he said, I'm not privy to that information, I wasn't there at the time.
Yeah, oh, so you really couldn't do anything anyway.
So if those gentlemen don't get a good decision,
Yeah.
then there should be a mistrial, on just the evidence itself.
I'm sure the lawyers will be freaking out.
Well, it's all gobbledygook law.
So that's August 23rd.
That's August 23rd.
So
that's supposed to happen.
3 days before the Mom Cup. Yeah, 26th is the Friday.
Is that a Wednesday?
No, a Tuesday.
So that might be live on the show.
It'll be a Tuesday.
That we can announce that the day of on the show. So that would be good.
23, 24 would be Wednesday. 25 would be Thursday. 26 would be Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
So Tuesday, so you might be able to do that.
That would be good. I'm very anxious to see what that
They
decision
are an
is.
hour ahead of us too at that time, so they would be.
Well, it's hard to say when they release it. It's hard to say when the people that get it released to them release it to the rest of the
But their
public.
5 o'clock is our 4 o'clock, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So they would usually get it out maybe 9 to 5.
Oh, it'll be out
right?
before that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I
So,
think we should know before the show on that Tuesday, August 23rd, what the decision is. So,
Yeah.
and whether or not it's going to be appealed or not. So I almost talked about something and then I got distracted because that's what happened. Mike Rita.
Yes.
Mike Rita is going to do comedy at the Mom Cup.
Yep. Saturday
And
night.
then he's going to go and be the host of the Prairie Cup.
Yep.
And that is a coup for sure.
Yeah.
Mike is one of the funniest people on the planet. And I'm sure he's going to be well motivated after having visited his home country there for the last week or so. Some amazing stories that he had to tell about the time that
He's
he had
touring with the Portuguese kids.
with the Portuguese kids.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing them in October.
Well, we're going to see that too.
Yeah.
That too. But we're going to get to see him at the Mom Cup.
Yeah.
And you can see him at the Prairie Cup as well. In fact, he'll be hosting the entire event, so that is great. Lucky anybody who goes there to witness that, because Mike for a whole weekend is going to be fun. And fun is the point of these cups as much as anything else is. It's a time that you don't forget. And when you got somebody like Mike Rita there doing the hosting, there's probably no better.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody better to do that job. So good on the Prairie Cup for getting Mike Rita, and on the Mum Cup for having him come there and do some comedy for us as well.
Yeah.
That should be great.
Yeah, Pat said August 23rd is a big day.
Yeah,
he's
on there. Well,
so.
Hey, Pat, thank you so much for the football game. I am really sorry that it didn't go the way that you had hoped, and I would have even preferred a much more competitive game.
What happened?
BC has Edmonton's number this year.
Oh, did they?
And for whatever reason, Edmonton lost their confidence after the first couple of drives that they did well on.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was bad. It was 46-14 final score. It could have even been worse than that, I think. But I was thrilled to see that, although I prefer a close game. I like it when the Lions are just barely comfortably ahead right until the end, and then they win, and then it's great.
Thank you for the invite, Pat, but I wasn't able to go. So.
I'm glad you weren't able to go.
Yeah, it was meant to be, right?
Sure, 100%. I loved my time there. I hope you had a good time there too, Pat. We'll talk about that next week when you're in town here.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really important date on August 23rd there. This is a huge decision. It definitely is going to impact what's going on with us here at the Cannabis Substitution Program and with the other people. We're not alone in our application to Health Canada. Ted Smith also has an application into Health Canada. Ted Smith was rated by the CSU. We were rated by the VPD. The CSU has fined him $6.5 million, him and his club, between the two of them. And the City of Victoria, for the third year in a row, I mentioned this on a previous show, is demanding that Health Canada provide the Cannabis Buyers Club with another exemption. So Health Canada has provided an exemption for Ted Smith and the Cannabis Buyers Club for the past 2 years, and the City of Victoria is demanding that they do it for a third year. What's going on, City of Vancouver? Why aren't you demanding that Health Canada give us the exemption that we need so that you can give us a license and we can operate the way that we should to meet the needs of what's going on here from a storefront instead of from an RV? Right now, my staff are out there in the RV, like they have been all week, suffering from heat that is almost unbearable. It is, I don't know, a testament to their stamina to be able to be out there. I couldn't be out there. I go out there for 5 or 10 minutes and my head starts to hurt, and I've got to come indoors where it's cooler, but it's still actually quite warm in here today as well. We only have one small air conditioner working in the back. We only have one window other than these things.
Yeah.
But, Health Canada, City of Vancouver, let's get this done. Let's get these people out of the heat. It's detrimental to their health, to say the least, to subject them to what they're going through. And they're going through it only because they also care enough about this neighborhood and this problem that's going on here with the overdose crisis, and we won't stop for a single day. We've been open 7 days a week since they closed the Blue Door, because that meant there was no access, and there has to be access here every day for these people that are trying to transition off of hard drugs or mitigate the use or whatever they're doing. And so, these people that are suffering in the heat out there are having their health impacted, and Health Canada should be concerned about that. So, amongst other things. Forgive me if I'm getting a little bit upset about it, but it's been going on for a very long time, Right now, what we're doing is we're gathering stories from people so that we can present that to Health Canada with respect to the value of what our program is providing. And so, please provide us with a letter. You can send me an email, you can send me a messenger, whatever. We'll take all of that. We've got quite a collection already, but the more the better. And at some point we'll get enough, right? Whatever enough is. There is critical mass that happens in these situations where finally you get that one that puts you over the top, and we don't know which one it's going to be. We don't know if we have it yet. We suspect that we could use more, as the system we're dealing with is very, very corrupt. So please provide us with some sort of a written testimony of your experience in how the services that we're offering, which is to provide access to cannabis, especially in the form of high-dose edibles, but also in the other forms that it comes in, because different people have different needs and requirements with respect to how they use cannabis and need cannabis. So that is what needs to happen for people. There needs to be storefronts that provide low-barrier access to cannabis in all of its different forms, concentrates, edibles, suppositories, topicals. All of that needs to be available reasonably, affordably, low barrier. And that's the fight that we're under here. That's what we've been fighting for always. The fight for legalization of cannabis was always just that. It wasn't for a government cartel with high prices and no access for people that need to use daily, that don't have those sorts of funds. And in fact, you can't access the government stores medically for any high-dose edibles anyway. Not available. The fact that these things are not available to the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Canadians who would like to be able to access them is a statement to how corrupt things are in their efforts to support their own cartel, and previously the other cartels that were providing, and that huge operation of enforcement that is also bleeding money out of our taxes to support themselves, all in the name of our public servants telling us which drugs we can and cannot have by force to protect us from them.
Protect ourselves.
God.
Yeah.
What else have I got here? Well, just that the government system has, right now, apparently, in Ontario, been hacked.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Somebody hacked it.
It wasn't me.
So now you can't order online for those people who can't get to a store. So the government dealers out of weed, folks.
Oh.
And in fact, the stores that are providing, they can't order because they're not able to access through the computer system.
So the gray market's coming back.
Well, it never left.
I know.
But the point is that the legal market has not satisfied the needs.
No.
Like it.
And your local dealer never didn't need a computer system to sell you a bag of weed either, right?
Really?
So you never have to worry about your
That's right.
local dealer ever.
You never had to show ID?
No, you'd have to show ID, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you had a little low in cash, you might front you a little bit too,
So many differences involved.
Technology screws them over when it's just,
And on another note, there's a great website, the fecoplaybook.com.
Yeah.
That's FECOplaybook.com. Has been also gathering stories of people's relationships with cannabis that have helped them in any way or otherwise as well. But it's become, they're looking to become the #1 database for those types of stories and reports. And I really highly recommend that you go to fecoplaybook.com and leave your story there, as that will help us in the future as we can accumulate. You see, we have so many more numbers than what they have. Right?
Yes.
And the numbers is eventually where, hopefully the truth lies, although, these days it's hard to get the right information, but it sure can't hurt to have the truth. No. And so help all of us by adding your story to the list of the fecoplaybook.com, and we'll move these things forward.
Correct myself every time I say RSO. I go, oh no, it's full extract.
Yeah, it's better to say full extract cannabis oil.
I'm trying to teach the old dog a new trick, right?
I know.
So, right, because me, I've always known as, I never even called it Phoenix Tears. I always called it RSO.
And what we did here was we called it Tears from Heaven.
Tears from Heaven.
Because we weren't using, our suppliers weren't using the same methods as Rick did.
So that what the name of the difference was?
That's the difference. The difference is in how you extract the cannabis.
Ah, okay.
That there's better ways than others to get those cannabinoids and to arrange them. Mm-hmm. The different cannabinoid profiles of the different what are there have different effects.
Yeah,
like,
we know that,
high in CBG or CBN, it's going to help you sleep. Yep. High in CBD, it's going to help with anxiety. It's going to help with overall body wellness, those sorts of things. So that how you make your full extract cannabis oil is important, and that's also what the FECO Institute is all about.
Yeah.
Is finding the best combinations, the best ways to extract, the best ways to put together, and all of that. But the overriding theme is full extract cannabis oil. That's how they've decided to call it, and so that's what I'm calling it as well.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything on my list.
You did.
Pretty much.
That's good.
I don't know that we covered it well or properly, but in the time that we had,
keep telling
we've done a good job. Yes, sorry, Wells.
I know.
I have difficulty calling you Wells. I don't know why. I mean, some people I call them by their last name.
8 out of 10 Glenn's just fine enough for Glenn.
Well, I don't call you. I mean, I only call you. I only call you 8 out of 10 Glenn when I'm saying when I say you're coming on the show.
Okay, all right.
And really, what I should do is, and I always say 8 out of 10 from CannaMatch.ca.
Yes.
Because that's the one that's
important. And our credit system is working now, so I got my very first payment from a credit card on our CannaMatch system. Yeah. So,
well, that's the start of a good future.
Yeah, that's it. It went right into the business account. So
nice.
We're getting there.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
So CannaMatch.ca, check it out.
Yeah.
Where you can meet people for all kinds of different cannabis-related things, even love.
Yeah.
Probably that's
There's probably a few people that do mushrooms too.
Well, the plant medicines, as long as we're being oppressed, you have to find ways to connect. And if someone in the cannabis world, is contacted about that, they probably know somebody.
Yeah.
You know somebody who knows somebody or something like that. We need to continue to stand up for our rights. We need to not have the annihilation of these plant medicines that has been attempted over these last number of decades here. It's completely wrong, and now that's really coming out. When something like mushrooms or LSD, ayahuasca, when these things can help people with depression, addiction, those are serious things in people's lives.
Instead of years and years of antidepressants. Years and years
and all of their side effects.
And if they don't work, we'll give you another one, right?
And you're old before your days because of all the side effects.
You put on 30 pounds because you eat while you're on your medicine and stuff like that.
I've had to take pharmaceuticals, or I've chosen to accept taking pharmaceuticals in my 65 years.
Yeah.
And my opinion was it melts your brain.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me, is that my brain was melting and feeling like mush and
I know
having
that
trouble
there
thinking.
are some medicines that are probably good.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Yeah, right. We're just saying about for our just common ailments.
The pharmaceutical company is so bad. They are so evil and corrupt and greedy and just overall plain bad that they're not getting credit now from people like me very often for the medicines that they have that do help people. Mm-hmm. It's really a shame that they've decided to be that corrupt and evil, because they could be good for the public. Yeah. They could make lots of money selling the good stuff that actually helps people, that cures things, that doesn't have a bunch of nasty side effects just so that you buy more of their medicine. They're getting a really bad reputation, and that's not good for business.
Like that shade.
And they should clean up their house on behalf of their shareholders and start doing a good job of actually thinking about what people need and what helps them, and keeping it away from them, the stuff that's bullshit or the stuff that's actually hurting them. Take those side effects out of those pills. I understand all the science behind why you got them there, getting people, not only to buy your own medicines more of, but because then when the doctor says, hey, you're going to get a tummy ache, or your penis won't work, or whatever it is that they tell you about the medicine that you're taking, when that happens to you, because it's built into the pill, you go, aha, the doctor was telling the truth, and that is the right medicine for me, even though it has these side effects. And now, well, I'm not going to say it again, Annie Barbie, but they're getting a really bad reputation amongst the public, who's really starting to clue in to their real bottom line motivations on things. This latest revelation that there was really no science and no justification behind the prescribing and overprescribing of all of these pharmaceutical medicines that were there to correct the imbalance in your brain of chemicals. There was no evidence to support that. They knew it, but they knew they were onto something when they could sell all of these pills that they produce for what? 1/3000th of a penny per pill, and then they charge you $300 for the pill, or $30, or even $3.
And they tell you it's not addictive, and it was.
Yeah, that too. Don't get me going on that. I don't have time for it. I got a guest coming on the show today. I didn't even mention that off the top. I should have. But I got a guest coming on the show, and I'm very interested to see where he is in his journey.
Yeah.
So thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, no problem, sir.
Thanks, Wells.
Yes, Wells. Yeah, Mr. Magnuson. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next
I'm going to go to Calgary on the weekend. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go on the Highest Fuck show.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you just had a great time in Kelowna
Saturday
and
at
seen all
6.
of that
Yeah,
going
look
on?
at the can, man. Look,
Wow.
yeah.
You're living the life.
3 days by the pool.
This is great. This is great.
Once again, thank you, Relief.
You're doing what I'm telling you. Have
Yeah.
as much fun as you can.
Yeah, try to. All right, we'll see you
That's
next
all you can do
week.
is try.
Cheers.
And every day's practice, right?
Yep, every
There's
day's practice.
We're not going
Have
to judge.
fun.
We're not going to judge you at the end of the day to see if you had enough fun or not.
No.
There's no judging going on. It's just have as much fun as you can, and it's a practice day.
You can tell by the smile on my face.
You can. You can always tell by looking at somebody if they're having fun or not, right? The face doesn't lie too much. The body language is a truth teller most of the time. So you can get from their eyes and from their wrinkles and from their lips what's going on.
I really thank you for letting me be here. We'll see you next week.
You bet, Claire.
Okay.
We're going to have more fun in the future for sure.
Yeah.
So coming up on the show, we have Bricks again, as we've had before. And you all know him. I don't even know how much of an introduction he needs, but he's had an amazing life of working in the cannabis industry. He ran dispensaries and grew weed for people and helped patients access through other patients. He's had numerous visits to the courts and been fighting this battle for a long time. It's been hard, but he is a warrior, and I think gets younger every time I see him. I'm not sure how he's doing that. But I know from years ago he's much healthier and younger than he used to be, and still on that path maybe. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Bricks, come on in here and say hi. I'm going to keep smoking one of these things here and
Hi,
having
Neil.
fun.
How are you doing today?
Well, trying to have as much fun as I can in a corrupt, depressing world.
Very important.
You know what they're doing out here today?
What are we doing out here today?
Well, they've decided that the tent city that's sprung up on these 3 blocks of Hastings here is unacceptable. The fire marshal came out and said it was a safety
Really?
issue, and there's no question about it. It is unacceptable. It is a safety issue. It's disgusting that a society would have what's going on over there going on. It's because of government policies through and through, period. Well, it's also somewhat to do with people's pasts. But a lot of the trauma that people suffer in families is caused by government policy. Many people have their lives ruined by drug prohibition and pass that on to their children who have now become addicted and suffering and homeless. I mean, there's lots and lots and lots of stories, and I'm just sort of poking it a little bit here with all of that. But all of these things and others have contributed a series of events, tent cities in parks that were displaced. I won't say they were removed. They were removed from the place that they were at, but these people have to have some place to go, and so they always go someplace else. And as a statement of contempt for government policies and the lack of supports for the people that are down and out, there's lots of supports for organizations and groups that say they're going to help down here. Don't get me wrong. They spend $1 million a day down here on these groups that are getting chunks of that money to help. With, in many cases, day-old bread and lousy sandwiches, and in some cases not too bad either. Depends how much money they're getting. But the real money from all of these grants is almost always going to the people on top, and not much of it is actually filtered down to what's going on the street. And any real solutions that come along don't seem to be embraced by government, almost like they kind of like what's going on here because maybe they're using it to their own benefit. Maybe it justifies a prohibition against cannabis, for example, and a keeping of the price high and tight restrictions on it, and many other things like that. There's a lot of ways that governments and these groups and corporations have figured out how to make money on this situation of poverty and drug addiction going on down here. It's disgusting. And it's come to the point where they've set up this crazy tent city along these sidewalks that are blocking entrances all the way along the way, that are filled with so many bike parts and so many other belongings. These people gather up. I mean, attachment is what traumatized people look for, and so they want things, and so they're homeless and they have carts, but they can put up tents and then they can gather more things. And so they gather all of these things from everywhere they get, and they manage to sell some of it, and they manage to use some of it. But mostly it's just an ongoing psychopathy of people who are really traumatized and trying to distract themselves from the pain and the suffering of the memories that they have, and so that they're constantly inebriating themselves with these really hard drugs, and they're focusing on all of these things that they have, their attachment to all of their things, and they're just barely surviving day to day. And they're being pushed and maneuvered and manipulated by government policies and government decisions on them, none of which are ever really designed to help them, although there was a number of them housed earlier. I mean, to be fair, here we are again, where government is so bad, evil, and corrupt that they're not even getting from people like me the credit that they deserve for some of the good things that they probably do. And so, yeah, they do some good things, I'm sure. And they did house a bunch of the people on the streets that wanted to be housed. Not all of them want to be housed. That's a problem. So, and the housing that they put them in many cases, is bug-infested, full of other drug addicts preying on them, and the women aren't safe, and all the rest of the rodents. And I mean, it just goes on and on. So in any case, what's going on here today is that the fire marshal July 5th decided that this tent city that's along the sidewalks, both sides for 3 blocks, is a fire hazard and has to go. So without any proper plan in place, other than have enough force, the police, with all of their reserves called in at taxpayers' expense, today are trying to remove these people. I went and witnessed it on 2 occasions, one early once it started. They were going to, one by one, stand and watch with a circle of police. The first guy dismantle all of his stuff and put it into these big black garbage containers that they had bought, which they're saying are for storage. They're going to take them to some lot or building close to here and store everybody's stuff there that they can get access to, apparently. And one by one, they're going to dismantle this. Well, that went well for a couple hours, and that was about it. And then there was a fire that was started in one of them down the street, so a bunch of them ran down. And I mean, there's enough police there. I mean, there's hundreds of police there. Well, dozens and dozens anyway.
Actually, just coming around the corner was when, now I understand, we saw, there must have been 30 police officers and hundreds of people on the sidewalk. And what I heard is someone went for one of the officers. It was literally hand-to-hand combat. I was watching it as I was trying to turn onto Main Street off of Hastings, and I could not. There was police everywhere, and we saw it go out in the street and turn into like a rumble, all mixed match, and we just couldn't believe it. What
actually started that was when they were going to respond to the fire. They were going to clear out the people in front of them, and a disabled gentleman named Randy, with his dog River, for any of you who follows the Cannabis Substitution Program and Jen Nelson's blog, you'll know who River is. Well, Randy, the disabled fellow with the walker, was in the way. And this cop went to grab his walker, and he said, "You touch my walker, you're touching me." And for that, the cop threw his walker to the sidewalk, and 2 hands on his chest pushed him 10 feet to the ground. Well, that caused a whole bunch of disturbance, and somebody grabbed for a cop's gun, and you can just imagine where that led to. So, yeah, it's mayhem and chaos going on across the street. They're 1 block over from us today, right now at this time. I would imagine this mayhem and chaos is going to go on for days and days. If they're going to try to let the owners of the tents slowly dismantle each one of their tents one by one as they go down the street, it's going to take a very long time. And when there's going to be incidents like this going on, because that many police in this neighborhood causes people to be very tense, anxious, and in many cases acting out, yeah, it is not going to end well here. I don't know what the solution is. Certainly you can't have a tent city blocking access and taking up 3 city blocks. Can't have that. But what you do about it, well, you need a serious plan. Anyway, I'm taking your time here, but that's what I wanted to say is going on over there. And you're experiencing your own individual journey of corruption and brutality and courts and all the rest of that. And you've got an important court date coming up. What did you want to tell us about what's going on?
I wanted to just back up a little bit because I was blessed, thanks to you, that I got to see Dose 2 myself. And it was inspiring listening to not just the movie and Laurie Brooks' story, because it's my own story. I'm living on chemo, going on my 22nd year somehow, and she's on her 4th, going on her 5th year, and it was just very emotional for me. But then when it finally got to hear some of the people that I really admire, like Dennis McKenna, obviously, and Gabor Mate, Dr. Mate, and hearing just from my point of view, because I still got to survive this thing, even though there's a drug war going on, and they're raging.
Nobody survives life.
No, I won't survive life, but I can survive the drug war.
You have for a while. We survived it for a while.
What I'm trying to do, I think, is what he said, to try to find your authentic self. It's something that I know from my last many years. I hid the cannabis medicine part and all the other parts of me, and until I was forced in front of a court, and I had to talk about it, and that's something that when you really come face to face with your authentic self, how do we react? And I definitely, it's taken me a long time to even really understand who is my authentic self.
Well, we all have different faces for different people.
Absolutely.
Everybody that knows you knows a different version of you. However many people that know, that's how many different versions of Bricks there are. But to how many of those people are you able to tell your truth to? Are you able to live your truth to, is the question. How many people are you having to hide yourself from? Parents, authority figures, and people in the workplace, peers all around you in many cases. Everybody's different with what they're surrounded by. But we are having to play these roles and act these different personalities to the different people that we know. Some of it comes naturally because we don't like this person, and so we don't treat them very well. We show them the version of us that is the one that doesn't like people very much. And this person we like a lot, so they get that version of us that sees us as smiling and happy and always so generous and kind, So who are you really? Well, I think we're all originally innocent people needing love, and eventually finding out that giving love gets love. That loving yourself is the most important thing. And if you're giving love to others, be it animals, nature, the universe, your parents, whatever, but when you put that out, you get it back. We live in an echo chamber, and this is the journey of life, learning how to have as much fun as you can. Right? It all sort of ties into the same thing, but. That authentic self of someone who really kind of wants to be nice most of the time. I mean, I think everybody at heart is a good person. But then if they don't like this person, if they think this person is trying to abuse them or is a threat to them or whatever, then they're not going to be that same person. So I don't know. I have a hard time struggling with that whole concept of finding who your authentic self is.
But we're not going to get there this year. It's going to take us years, and I'm glad that Dr. Mate sent that message out to that theater, and I heard it, and I'm on my path. And so I brought some information I've never bothered to share. Sorry, I didn't mean to bang there. My stories. Well, I'm going to be on the stand probably within the next month or so. I'll be on the stand at least 1 or 2 or 3 days, and I'm going to give my story. So I figured I might as well give my story now. And if people want to hear it, and I'm hoping it can help other people in the future, other Lori Brookses and other people that won't find someone like Tyler or other people to guide them or help them or
tell their story.
Give them a guiding post that's not into the ground. Because that's what we are, we all want to live, not just live, we want to thrive.
So I use this show, every day's practice for me. Every show is practice for me. And I use this show to practice what it is that I have to say, to try to figure out how to properly articulate this journey that I'm on, and how to communicate that to people. And I've been doing that over and over again. The people who watch this show regularly probably get tired of hearing me say the similar things over and over again. But I too, like you, might end up, if corruption is really as deep as I think it could be, I might end up having the same opportunity as you. And I appreciate giving you the opportunity to say your story as a practice run, to critique and change and alter and evolve before it actually happens. And it's a very important thing, I think, because I'm going to end up on a stand maybe. And even if they don't continue with this prosecution of us, we likely have to prosecute them. And one way or another, I'm probably going to end up on the stand having to explain this journey of how we got here and what we're doing. And so, what happened that started your journey?
Well, I mean, interesting enough, I mean, I was involved with cannabis activism, but in the beginning I was really good at keeping my real life and cannabis life apart, not being authentic, of course. Problem was I worked in the courts, so you couldn't be up there hours in front of a judge and then out there and doing cannabis. Just you would get prosecuted back then. So I led a different life. And then as you all know, about 2000 or so, the government sort of said, hey, we're offering exemptions for cannabis. So many of us made the dumb mistake of thinking, well, that means if we apply, we're going to be protected. It did the exact opposite for over 80 of us, and that was this case. So this looks pretty old. It's 21 years old, and this is basically I was investigated and charged because Health Canada had reported to the RCMP that I was one of the applicants for an exemption. So that was their reason for investigating all of us and charging all of us. Originally it was, and I'll show you, I have all the documents. Originally it was cultivation. But very soon afterwards, for me, they realized that I was involved with my own little cannabis place for other patients like me. And so the game got upped to trafficking. So in 2001 to 2003, I had to spend almost 2 years to try to, first of all, stop any further investigations on myself, and that's called an injunction application, right? And that was, I don't mind even, maybe we'll do a little bit of reading because it's easier than me just talking. So I have all the briefs here, the entire brief. Sorry, it's so old. It's 21 years old.
Getting older by the moment.
Well, so I wanted to go right to the. So the injunction was the first important thing when I realized that they had upped the charge and they were gonna maybe, who knows, maybe come up with proceeds of crime next. Now I was facing 2 charges because I applied for an exemption. I know this all sounds kind of familiar again, but I'm not.
And you applied for an exemption. What was the basis of that application? Why were you wanting to use cannabis?
Well, my specialists were saying that it would definitely help with the chemo treatments.
Right. So this is all based on severe needed medical use, and because you were needing cannabis and had figured that out, you applied for an exemption.
I did. I thought a lot of us thought, wow. I mean, we'd heard the Terry Parker case that he had been found not guilty of first possession and then his second day's production. A lot of us thought, okay, maybe we can come out of become a little bit more authentic, at least with the government and the justice system, hoping that would alter that process. But it didn't. What it took is I had to actually apply for a judge to stop them. I'll read it to you. So this is what I asked for. An order restraining, preventing, or injuncting the RCMP from any future seizures, harassment, trespassing, or other negative acts towards the applicant. This is 2002. 20 years ago, a chemo patient trying to get protection from RCMP continual, and it doesn't matter what police force, this drug war is against all of us equally. But in my case, I had to actually, and then of course, I had to bother to then protect not just me, because then they wanted to include my organization, the Holy Smoke, the Healing Center. So I had to then file a case civilly back on them for now telling me that me and my patients are not allowed to access patient-to-patient access. I know this all sounds familiar. It's almost like history will always repeat again and again until we injunct the repeaters of it, who are not living their authentic lives, I'm sure, because they're doing this for financial gain, not for personal, spiritual, physical, or emotional gain, which is what we should be seeking in our lives. Yeah. And so so I did win my court order. I won my case. I would love someone to I should put the whole thing online so people could look at and read through it. It should be in a book. But bottom line, because I couldn't be investigated for cannabis-related offenses. In fact, if they even tried, I could get damages for breaking an injunction application, right? What happens? Well, they run out of things to go after you for. So that's when they came up with the new idea. We can't go after them for being on chemo drugs or the cannabis to do the chemo. Let's go after them for being sick at all. And that's what I faced in 2017. The government of Canada thought, man, we can't get him for anything. He doesn't break the law, but let's get him because he's sick. How's a sick person going to even fight back? They were currently holding 123 Canadians in jail for life for being sick. Most of you aren't aware of that. Those people it's now over 37, I think, are sitting in jail for life for a charge that scientifically cannot be committed. But this government has ignored science, as always. In fact, only Canada, out of all the countries in the world, will charge a disabled chemo patient for being disabled and on chemo.
And so what is the charge?
The charge is not telling everyone in the world you have HIV cancer. Not going around with a big sign. Oh, I got a sign. Oh, I do have a sign. I'm sorry. I'm on chemo and I have a form of viral cancer, like millions of other people, right? That I'm luckily, my body and my health is allowing me to live in a way that 20 years later, most people would never see on any kind of chemo, right? Especially if you were dumb enough to do their first rounds of chemo that they invented from mustard gas experiments in Nazi Germany. Yes, chemo drugs for chemo patients are based in mustard gas experiments they did on people in Auschwitz and Krakow. Yes, and this is what Western medicine, instead of all of the plants that I had to get protected to use, instead of letting those to us and letting us live, like Lori's finding and like a lot of chemo patients find after years of realizing they're not wanting to die from cancer, because you make that decision. And some people, it's called guilt living. You shouldn't have to live if you don't want to. But anyway, so here we are now, 2022. And I've been, obviously, after they charged me, of course, once they, by the way, they already had my medical file before they charged me. That's the funny part, is they pretend like they thought I was somehow infectious with viruses, but of course, I've never had a viral load ever. I've had my medical file done every 3 months, my blood work since 2001 actually is when it's been every 3 months. And it never been detectable. And they had that. And they went, well, let's ignore that. So what did the government do? They released me from jail, put me on all these conditions, and then they said, well, forget that file. Let's run a public health warning against the guy and put out his name and say he's infectious and he's getting people. And so they actually asked everyone on the planet to come forward and have you ever done anything with this guy at all? Because if you have, you better get to the hospital today because you're dead. And of course, they knew that was untrue. But I can assure you, when a government does that against a chemo patient, it's quite difficult, because their reaction wasn't just to get the public completely scared to death from 2017 till they finally, I'll get to that. But they literally thought, well, how about it's a good idea to put him in solitary confinement with no legal defense and deny his bail. And that went on for almost 2 months, which was a lot of fun for a chemo patient. And it just shows that's the system we're dealing with. And since 2017, I'm aware of where they've done this to 2 other people in a very similar way. Luckily, they weren't on chemo, but they would have died. And the government, of course, have paid massive damages for doing these huge torts. And they'll continue to pay our tort damages forever, rather than curtail the acts. They won't curtail the acts. It will never be curtailed. Disabled people under temporary disability, permanent disability, or otherwise, can't be protected without a federal disability act. Canadians with Disability Act, one law to protect us with enforcement. We would have never had these problems.
And they have something like that in the States.
America, I was living in America, unfortunately, at the time when we had my relatives and me as a young kid had to actually lobby and fight Washington to create the Americans with Disability Act. And literally that passed eventually, but didn't matter because they didn't bother creating the enforcement end to it. Without that way to enforce anti-discrimination laws, an act means nothing. Just like the Constitution Act of Canada, without a way to enforce it outside of a court order, The act means nothing. This is the sadness of creating a false democracy, a non-authentic place with non-authentic laws and no authentic rights to a citizen of any authentic or de-authentic being.
Now, for me, it's been reasonableness. I always talk about how I don't like things that are unreasonable. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's not authentic because it's not reasonable. Any reasonable person would go, well, that doesn't, no. This is somebody making money off of somebody else's pain. But that's the world we live in, there's a bunch of people making a bunch of money off of people's pain and suffering. And the worst thing is they're involved in creating that pain and suffering so that they can take advantage of it.
Exactly. It's a self-creating system
And your answer to that is, well, let's sue the bastards.
Well, let's take back at least the damages from them and for the rest of our lives so that if they choose to hurt everyone, we can at least protect ours and our loved ones, right? Because we're going to have, if we don't protect ours and our loved ones, they will go after the loved ones next. And I can assure you, you should interview my beautiful wife for a few minutes on what she's experienced. I'm going to say how we were allowed by the government to date, because I was under conditions to not date, not be online, not own a cell phone or a computer, not talk to any woman without a probation officer present. So how did I get to date Desiree? I had to go into the Crown offices with Desiree on camera with them, and she had to sign releases allowing her to not be a victim of a crime that couldn't be committed, and acknowledge that she would die anyway from HIV cancer because they made her sign it's all going to be part of the evidence because they tried to force her not to marry me or not to even date me with all total lies and fake science, which is exactly what they're using with everything else, fake science. Those of us that have gone through any degree of education, I'm in a grad degree, those of us who've gone through any of that know that the science has never been used correctly by governments. Why? Maybe they're not qualified, but definitely because they don't want the true explanation of it to you, to get to you deeply. And that's why
you're in bed with people that are profiting from what's going on.
And there will always be. So we have to be proactive and authentic with ourselves. Our loved ones are going to suffer. If you want your loved ones to have one way of not suffering or maybe surviving, plants and mushrooms is the only way. That's the only way. And I'm being very authentic here. Okay, if I didn't have these plants every day and mushrooms at least several times a week, I would have existentially quit this fight of living. Right? Because living for me is difficult. I suffer serious pain internally, putting chemo through your body every single day. Lori's just started it herself, and when you get up to a decade of, your system is not meant for those toxins. It doesn't matter how much mustard gas you lower in it at all. It's still not going to go well in a stomach or a colon or a bowel or even your throat, even your mouth, even your salivary glands shouldn't be absorbing this stuff because it's deadly.
And you counter that with not only the use of psychedelics, but with your diet.
That's absolutely true.
I mean, you're very strict.
I had to give up. I'm not as strict anymore because I'm reaching my goals. Every now and then, Desiree and I will actually have a bubble tea popsicle.
Wow.
And every now and then, like I don't want to be. I'm not an ascetic. That's not me. I'm a real person.
But you did have to really alter your diet and really think about what you were putting in there and why.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's not an edible, I usually don't ingest it. That's just the way I am. I really want my body to survive. Jack Kungle is so right about methodoxines, that the feeder of cancer comes from our diet. When you remove that feeder of your cancer, even if you haven't figured out the plants to sustain yourself, you'll at least not feed, and I don't want to call cancer the enemy, because it's not. Cancer's been with primates, which is us, for millions, maybe billions of years, but thousands of years for sure documented. It's something that just is part of our lives, whether it's a mole on your face or whether it's a lump in your brain or on your chest. Or we are part of cancer. It's part of us, just like viruses, just like bacteria, myceliums. These have all been part of our lives forever. We have to be part of their lives too, authentically, in every way. Cooking in every meal, little, even if it's microdosing with cannabinoids, microdosing with psilocybins, into your food, into your drink, into your... And let's not forget coca. Coca is a blessing and is a healthy food, and it's good for us. It's vitamins, minerals, and my God, you do not need opiate pain relief with coca. Coca tea is strong enough. Coca chew, if you got great teeth, fantastic. These are things that I, over the years, not being authentic, was like, oh, maybe I should, maybe that's believing the rhetoric. But you have to remove the rhetoric. I think maybe we all need to go through an iboga session and have ourselves go back to childhood and come back again, living our whole life now through the adult eye, seeing it through the logic, rationality that we couldn't as we lived it in those modes of growth. We need to be there. Matt, I wish I could spend days with Gabor Mate just listening to his understanding of humans, probably primates, probably. That's the level of knowledge. I love psychotherapy and psychoanalysis, and neurology is like my favorite subject. And to hear someone grasp it at a level beyond the science of authenticness, because that's what we should all be there at. If we're not going to be there, then why are we even existing just to be fake? And that's just this one little dimension. These psychedelics offer you dimensions. These dimensions are not just for your spirit and your heart. They're for you. They're giving you gifts. And gifts that I want to give to the world one day if I could. I'm going to win this case for sure. The trials are weird. It's a foregone conclusion. I'm going to put together a trust fund that's going to offer funding for court cases, for knowledge, for information, maybe pop-up, CSPs. This is what we need to be at. If we have to self-fund it and then sue again and self-fund and if that's what we have to do to look after these people ourselves, then we do it. We just don't. They may not be part of our debate, part of our authenticness. We're going to do it. I'm doing it. I have to do it. Neil has to do it. You're not going to talk him out of it. Neil is dedicated. My wife is dedicated. We are dedicated to this. And I know there's thousands of people out there dedicated that don't really know what's going on. This government is so good at fooling you. And how do I know this? Because once we got our exemptions eventually, and the court cases won back in like early 2000s, guess what they came up with? Now they had a company that was going to grow only for us. Plant Prairie, and they wanted us to buy only and believe me, we had to go through so much crap as they tried to force that government weed on sick people. Well, now they're forcing it once again. You're telling me any judge is going to allow a continuing order of anti-access to the sick? There's no chance. And I guess I have to do the case and plead the case again myself to win another judgment, because these lawyers, or I don't know what they call them in Canada anymore, I don't have a term for them, they're not advocates, they won't come forward and actually fight this law into extinction. They wanted to injunct and put it in an injunction, if you go in federal court, is a temporary measure. We need permanency, right? That's why I did mine in the Supreme Court of BC. I wasn't willing to have an injunction for a year or two till a new law was coming in. It needs to be till I die. How about that for an idea? Or until we have it available with CSPs at every corner, and we don't have to debate this anymore. Once it's at that point, the few of us that actually need to live, which is, hundreds of millions, because it's everyone, guys. It's not just me. I just happen to be at the extreme end of your scale. And you have to realize that you're going to be there one day, like me. It may not be cancer, it could be CHD, it could be high blood pressure, diabetes. But you have to start jumping on these plants and mushrooms, hoarding them existentially, hoarding them physically, hoarding them spiritually, and making them available to everyone without crime, which means this. And to hear the fire marshals willing to do that. I volunteered as a firefighter for 4 years of my life. It was very rewarding. I absolutely loved giving to my community like that. But I could tell you that if I was instructed to do such an order, I would absolutely resign my position and I would step down. I would never, I don't care what fire marshal you are, you're trained to save lives, to go and physically manhandle people with the police, that is so not the privy of the fire department, and I hope that there's a class action filed by Pivot against them for being and definitely with the police for. This is like they do in Abbotsford when the police and the city go out and dump chicken manure on homeless people. We are re-allowing that again as a society. And I say, was that being authentic, people?
Yeah, they have no place for these people to go.
Then there is places to give them.
They're going to take all their belongings, and where are they supposed to go tonight? Where are they going to sleep tonight? Whose doorway? Whose lawn?
It's cold out there at night.
You know,
they need a tent.
Well, they need protection too, and there's no plan in place. That's my big problem. They don't know what to do with these people. They're just going to take away their tents, take away their belongings, store them for them. And then what? They're going to just walk the streets tonight? We're going to have hundreds of these people just wandering the streets looking for cars to break into to feed themselves.
That's exactly.
You know?
It'll turn into a riot.
It's all government policy.
They're creating a riot so they can do riot squad on them, which means they can remove all of the charter rights that exist, and they can, once they go into a riot situation, and they call it that, they can, the police powers completely exceed what the charter would allow. And
I saw the staff sergeant on his walkie-talkie saying, "We need more police down here."
Back up.
They already arrested 2 people. You know, who knows how many by the time this is all over. If it ever gets, it'll never be over. But there's something else that you said that made me think of something. You know, being your authentic self. And I think that when you're having fun, I mean, when you're a kid, that's when you're your authentic self. And if you can have fun with what you're doing, I think that's when you're living more of your authentic self. Just a side note that I got on what you were saying there. But anyway, back to your case here. So
I would love to answer questions. If anybody out there has questions on how I did this and how you can do this.
Well, we don't have time today for that, and we don't have a chat going on either.
Obviously.
But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
I can move up to so here's the current case before trial. Okay, I'm going to even show. Okay, here it is. This is the case brief. Okay, it's Her Majesty the Queen, and it's always Her Majesty the Queen. It's always
the Queen's behind
always the
here.
Queen. It's always so Her Majesty the Queen, and right of the Province of British Columbia, Minister of Public Safety, Solicitor General, Attorney General of British Columbia himself, Mr. Horgan, who was, he's got cancer now. Isn't that funny? Her Majesty the Queen, and well, why aren't you helping us? You're prosecuting us chemo patients. It's karma.
It's ironic.
Okay, Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Canada, Attorney General. And then, of course, the officers who helped participate, knowing I was innocent. Constable Steve Crawford, Constable Christy Cromwell, Corporal Fox, why is there no name? Constable Jessica McKay, Constable James Mason, Constable Cozy Gallows, Constable Dave Peck, Constable Kyle Friesen, and Constable Alec McPherson. All of them engaged in a conspiracy to commit an illegal investigation. Twice in my life. So 2001, 2003, now 2017, 2022. That's how they treat chemo patients. And my favorite and most important leader in chemo is my hero, Terry Fox. And I think of that poor 21-year-old living today. He would have been my age, so he would have been about 53 like me, fighting chemo like me, trying to stay alive. Would he have put up with all of that money he raised going to go after us? Do you think Terry and his loved ones and his legacy would have been create a criminal justice system to target chemo patients? Do you think that would have been his legacy? Was that authentic? Terry was the most authentic person there is. That's an example of people like me who are just trying to live and share life to the world. I am so blessed that I could be here 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later after that poor guy couldn't. Because he should have and he would have if we'd have given him plants and mushrooms. He would be sitting here right now next to us. And so many other cancer patients that we've lost that didn't know that high-dose cannabinoids, high-dose psilocybin, high-dose, maybe high-dose iboga. I don't know iboga yet. But I think all of these are creatures of health and authenticness. You want to be authentic? Take an iboga trip for a few days. You will learn so much about yourself. I haven't done it. Believe me, I would love the blessing to try it. But I do. Hello, Sadie. Now this is authentic. I have a family of 5 cats at home. A whole family, mom and dad. 3 kids that we delivered ourselves that live with us. And this, just petting her and petting
so powerful.
One is serotonin, serapinephrine. All of those are released endogenously and not just for me, for her when I do this. Is this the most a genuine thing. But according to Canadian criminal law, this creature has no rights to protection from cruel and unusual punishment. We accept a government that thinks that way about a creature like this, but why would we accept it openly? Why wouldn't we think that that itself is bestial? It's carnation. They're basically saying we could eat a cat and they wouldn't do anything. How dare our government take that position? How dare we, as citizens and lovers of these things, allow such a disgusting thing? It's one thing. I don't believe in carnation anymore. I'm years without eating a creature and killing anything, but all of them deserve to live. We don't deserve their life. They don't deserve our life. We deserve to be together in authentic love. Here, you hold her for a bit. Your turn.
Sure, all happily.
She is so awesome, and I hope you guys do this every day with your animals. It creates this. Believe me, I have a service dog, Yoda, and I take him everywhere with me, into the courtroom and everything, because it's important that we bring this healing everywhere we go, that we are in a state of health authentically, healing every minute. Intent is healing. I'm healthier now. I'm a little bit healthier now. Neil says that I get younger and younger looking. I'm just trying to get healthier. I'm not even trying to get younger looking, because I'm a gray as hell too, dude. If I let it grow, it's long and gray. You'd be going, I got. Ask my wife. I go a few days. It's gray. That's just the way it is, and I'm okay with being authentically 53 this year. I'm okay with that. October 4th is going to be a beautiful day, because I know that I'm not having all these court things are behind my mind. The only one we have to fix is Neil's issue, and this place has to be fixed. Now that has to be dealt with, and I'm guessing that once my case is over, I will fund it if I have to, and I'll even maybe get my own lawyers team to get on it. Maybe they have a group that will work on it, because I'm not going to put up with this going on. Neil's not going to put up with it, so why don't you guys just come to the table with him like he's offered, and just offer him a temporary injunction, and we'll move forward from this criminal case, that it was a mistake and an accident. We'll accept that. It's not negligence on intent. It was negligence by accident. We'll give you that break. Okay, you're not really dragged into the court.
Yeah, I actually talked to a sergeant over there about it today.
Oh, good.
And he said, just doing our jobs, right? And I said, you better be careful with that excuse. He laughed. He knew exactly what I meant by that. But just doing their jobs. The VPD decided we were trafficking in cannabis against the federal law, and they should investigate that, because that's what they're paid to do. And that's resulted in charges against us. They really just, they didn't need to do that big investigation. I had signs out there every day saying what we're doing, and and they could have come and talked to me.
It's just like investigating me because I applied to Health Canada in the first place. So is that why you're investigating and charging him, because he applied for an exemption to help people? Do you see how they use our protection attempts without? If we don't go right to a judge and we try in any way to go to any government ministry body, it ends up negatively on us.
Yeah, and you're probably right that this might be a catalyst for us actually getting what we should be getting here, which is licenses. That's a no-brainer.
Well, 268
exemption
are not going to drop dead for you like you want. So you're gonna have to give at least that.
I mean, I'll tell you, I'm in a position where I just cannot stop. It's just we have 268 members that have been relying on us. They've been members for years now. And I can't stop providing them with what they've been getting. They would be horrified by that. They'd be decimated by that. Many of them would be, in serious trouble because of that. And I've come to know all of these people. And so as a community member here, and these being members of the community that I'm quite familiar with, they become almost family in many ways. There's not a chance that I could stop doing what I'm doing unless they physically remove me and put me into a cage that I can't get out of or something like that. So I really hope the powers that be understand that I have a serious obligation, a personal obligation, to continue what we're doing here in the way of services to people. And more than that, that the segment of the population that are not visible in their addiction and are in desperate need of discreet dispensing of high-dose cannabis edibles and the proper information as to how to use those to get out of their addiction, and perhaps mushrooms as well and other things. Without that being readily available to them, they are at serious risk. They're dying. We have tens of thousands of them that are already dying across Canada here. And so the government, in blocking, easy access to these things, is resulting in the deaths of many of these people. Then they're not the homeless, addicts that you see here that are visible. They're, ordinary people in ordinary walks of life that you'd be very shocked to know that they're maintaining an addiction to opioids, either through injection or through pills, and other substances as well, because of circumstances in their life that have led them there, but they're secret about it. They can't ever tell anybody about it. They can't go to their doctor about it. They don't want their family or community to know about it. They need discreet dispensing, and that's what I'm standing up for, and that's what I'm being told Health Canada will not allow, that they won't allow full-grown consenting adults to access cannabis high-dose edibles without the support of a physician, a doctor, which is completely ludicrous in a country where there's 1 million plus Canadians who can't even get a doctor, and that only a very small percentage of doctors will even consider talking about cannabis, let alone authorizing a patient to use it. So the access is so difficult, it's out of reach for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are going to need it to stay alive. And that is the battle here, and that's who I can't turn my back on. That I'm not going to back down from that. They might force me down, but I'll not back down. Without that, those people need a voice. They need to have somebody stand up for them and say, no, we have to have this. In Health Canada, we need to have low barrier, discreet access to adults to address all of these different issues to do with the overdose crisis and so much more than that. So that's my battle. But you're right, there's no way I could quit doing it. There's no way I would. It just is what it is, and I'm not alone. There's a whole bunch of us, and I recommend that all of you get into that joyful mood of, you know what, I don't like the system, I don't like what's going on, and I'm going to damn well do something about it, and have some fun, and write a letter, write an email, make a difference, try to get heard, try to target it to the right place, try to put together the right words. Don't worry about it if you can't. Just put together whatever words you can, but have some fun with it, and let's push the agenda, because what other choice is there? To roll over, to bend over, and just let these corporate agendas manifest themselves in our lives where we're nothing but fodder for them, and they'll prey on our pain and our suffering and our disabilities. This whole restriction of access to these medicines is nothing more than an attack on disabled people. People who need to deal with their depression, their pain, their anxiety, their stress, and all these other issues that people have. We have issues. We're people. By the time you're 40 years old, you've had some issues. Everybody does. Who doesn't? And especially in a world like this with so many stressors. So this restriction of access is a direct attack on all citizens and people who are disabled because of their depression, their anxiety, their pain, their stress, and all the rest of it. Not allowing them proper access is killing people, it's stressing people out, it's causing all sorts of disease and mayhem in our society. It's causing what's going on a block away from here.
Let's say one thing that I think has really helped me in the last little while, and that's the Coca Leaf Cafe.
I see.
That's
a whole story too. I should get Dana in here talking about that.
What I have in my hand here is, my first time in my life ever really trying it, is the DMT pen. So dimethyltryptamine, but exogenously. And I do the endogenous training by free diving and holding my breath underwater and extreme physiology. But I've been experimenting with this lately, and for chemo patients and the existential stress and just little drags throughout the day, it's almost like a microdose, and it's phenomenally keeping me from... I'm not seeking vengeance I'm seeking in authenticity now.
You just want to have fun.
I want to have fun and live and love and share.
Yeah.
And everyone, DMT is part of us. We are DMT in here. It's from my pineal gland, and it comes from things. And I think places like the coca leaf and access to real plants that you really have a hard time finding.
And you shouldn't.
And you shouldn't.
But
we all have to get behind. Well, I'm going to get behind it. If you guys want to follow me and Neil, we're going to get behind it.
Nobody has to do anything.
You can do whatever you want.
I just recommend that you have fun and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Those are two really cool things to put together.
But there's going to be big changes in the next month, everyone. So it may be. My case may be in the media nonstop again. I don't know. During the first 2 years, it was in the media every day, and I don't know if the media is going to want to pick it up and cover it that way again during the trial.
Do you want that? Or
it's not up to me.
does it matter to you?
if they just read the court material, it's all. I mean, you don't really need me to even talk.
Like in our case, we want the media, right? I was over there trying to get media to pay attention to us.
I don't know how to get them to want to follow good cases. They want to follow only cases that their editors are telling them to go. They don't. You know, if I was in solitary and they thought I was going to die there, so my case mattered at the time, right? But as soon as I was released and the charges were dropped, I got the apology. You know, they changed law in Canada because they don't even allowed to prosecute people this way anymore. And you think that would be a
2
story.
months in solitary, I think that's against the law.
I don't, without breaking the law, maybe, yeah. I mean, I could see if you broke the law, but they knew I was innocent way ahead of time, and it's called legal investigation.
Solitary is cruel and unusual punishment.
It affected my brain in all kinds of profound ways that I have, thank God, have found ways through these plants to get me back to normal again. Because I can assure you, if you'd have met me in 2017, 2018, I wasn't a fighter at all. I was just like waiting for my lawyer to let me know. You know, I didn't even. My brain was so not all the pathways that I have back again, that I've realigned, that I've reopened, that I've reconnected through neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, thanks to psilocybin constantly. I wouldn't be me like I am now. I would have been me like I was then, and that wasn't me, and that was the me they wanted. This little meek little guy, like Joseph and Joseph, what was his name? Robert Joseph, the one who my lawyer other case he got, and then of course the big one of Patrick Henry, and he got his he got his $8.5 million for being put through this stuff too. So this is sort of there's precedents on this. And courts are willing to give real damages for this to people and even groups. And it's just, it's hard to get a lawyer to get a lawyer. Well, that's our job, to get our case so good that a lawyer won't have a choice. Right?
And so that's one of the more powerful things about your case, is that it could pave the way for other people as well to decide that they too should be getting some damages for what's happened to them, and that's a possibility. So I really hope that works out well.
Oh, no.
And I really thank you for coming and sharing your story with us and your journey. And we'll certainly have you back again to tell us a little more about how it goes and how it went.
Yeah, there's so many cases going on in the next month and trials. This is like the month. So much is going to be going on.
Yeah, there is a lot going on.
Yeah, everyone's really, it's a lot of cases. We'll have all kinds of changes that happen really fast that we won't expect. And thanks
for moving fast.
Canlii.ca, CANLII.ca is Canada's free access to judgments. So don't feel like you have to wait. If there's a case that we say has been heard, go and type in the name of it on Canlii. There's your free access to the whole case.
So what was that again?
Canlii. So www.can. So Canadian Legal Information Network. It's the CANLII.ca. It's free. All lawyers and everybody uses it for free. But as soon as, like the Warnicky-Martin case, whatever, we'll all have access to it. As soon as my judge, all have access to it, cool. Right? And so there's none of this. We can't find. We don't know what's going on. You can get it right away, and then get it to your lawyer or your defense if they're working on your case. It's a way to push multiple at the same time. That's how we really pushed it in the early 2000s.
Right.
We pushed.
And you've been saying this for a while. You've come on the show a few times, and let's bring these actions against them. They are liable for damages, and the precedents are good that people get damages.
But don't wait till you can't fight back. That's what they want. Don't wait till that point, because that does happen. And they put you in solitary, and then you're like, don't wait till that comes up. It's fight back now, right?
Be proactive.
Yeah, be proactive in your life.
Well, thanks, Bricks.
Yeah,
I appreciate it a great deal. We'll talk again soon. All right. All the best.
Good on you. Thanks for all the work. Let me get this mess out of your way.
So just briefly, we're going to talk a bit about the Cannabis Substitution Program. I'm not going to go over all the fine details of it. Suffice to say that trying to do everything the right way since the beginning of recognizing that this public health emergency could be properly addressed through the easy access to high-dose cannabis edibles. Started a program now 5.5+ years in of getting that very thing happening here on the downtown east side of Vancouver. It has been incredibly successful from our point of view, except that we've been handcuffed and limited with respect to how much we're able to do to meet the needs of this neighborhood and the problem that's going on here. We have literally supplied tens of thousands of milligrams, or tens of millions, of milligrams of high-dose edibles over the past more than half a decade to people here, and had many great stories being told because of it. So much examples of how this has helped the neighborhood out. Everybody here supports us. All the harm reduction groups support us. We have the support of the local municipal government, and yet we are handcuffed because of a federal government that won't allow us to get just a piece of paper with a signature on it that would allow us to continue doing what we've been doing successfully for all this time, but do it in a way that's more dignified for us and the people that we're dealing with. Because doing it from an RV, especially when you're dealing with extreme elements of heat and cold, which we have over the last 22 months or so in the RV, or 21 months in the RV, does not allow us to meet the needs here. We are missing many people that we would otherwise be able to save from their addictions and get them out of this horrible condition that they're in here. But because we are just a little small unit working out of a small RV, worried every day that they're going to come and steal our stuff again, already facing criminal charges, wondering if we're ever going to get the support that we need from that top level of government that would allow this organization, the Cannabis Substitution Program, to really do a good job across this country in getting what people need into their hands. And so that's our journey. We're going to go visit the RV just for a minute and say hi to the folks out there, and let's go do that. So your weekly weather report from the THC Show is sunny and hot, not a cloud in the sky. That's been going on for days here. Although there's a front coming in, they say it should be rainy by tomorrow, which probably means some thunderstorms, and that'll probably mean more forest fires. So that's your weekly weather report from the THC Show. It's a little warm today, cooling down in the evenings, which is nice. But apparently a week from now it's going to be back up to even 30 degrees and during the daytime, and that is rather hot for sure. So here we are with the CSC Ganja Mobile, the icon of the neighborhood. Hello, Jennifer Nelson. How are you? Warm. Warm, eh? Yeah, no doubt. It's a little stuffy in there. We can deal with the extreme cold because we have enough heaters to be able to do that. But when it gets really hot, there's just nothing you can do but sweat it out or go home. And that's something that these people so far refuse to do. Why is that?
To dedicate because we hate the government. We want to prove to the government this is
Cool. Me
the
too. Yeah, I'm dedicated to what we're doing here, and I'm not about to go away just because it gets too hot because the government won't allow us into an air-conditioned place. I know I'm not out here very much. Hardly at all. I even admitted earlier, 5 or 10 minutes is the most I can do.
It's not our fault that we're here doing what we're supposed to be doing. It's the government's fault for not helping us doing what we're doing.
We're just kind of following our authentic selves in doing what we're doing.
They're not realizing what's going on down here.
100%. 100% they don't realize, especially the federal government. There's never been a representative down here at all to have a look in any way, shape, or form. And like what Andrew says there, we're just kind of being our authentic selves. We've discovered a need that we can help with, and how do you turn your backs on that? Because that's a natural law. The natural laws that really guide how a human being behaves are that you don't hurt somebody, right? You do what you want until you hurt somebody. That's a natural law. And if there's somebody that's in pain or struggling, you can't walk away from that. You can't just turn your back on that. You've got to go and help with that. So being their authentic selves, here they are in the heat for, I don't know, how long, 21 months now in this thing, 6 days a week. Like, wow, that's a lot. We're running a little bit behind. Do you want to do a little chat at the back door, Andrew?
Sure.
All right. We're down to just one sign, but that's enough. All the cars driving by get to see that all day long, and it really does say the thing, use cannabis as a safe supply. There's all this talk about safe supply, and the truth is that the actual safe supply is what we've got going on here. And what do we got today, Andrew? High dose edibles is what works for people, right? So it needs to be there. It needs to be available. I'm sounding like a broken record again.
Okay, we got some caramels from Robert. 150 milligram
So
caramel.
that's somewhere in Neverland?
Yes. And we have 150 milligram taffy from Robert, somewhere in Neverland. And
And what do we have? We have Joe, who's always persistent with cookies.
Joe Pepper, our most dedicated, longest lasting
cookies.
donor.
Yes, she's pretty good. She brought these today. I have from Colleen, I have some cheesies. This is a 50 milligram package because it's small.
Right.
I have this one here that's 150 milligrams right here.
So you got that marked on there, I would imagine, eh? Like
Yeah,
you know
I know which is which.
Okay, well.
And this one here, I mark it
Hickory sticks.
Hickory sticks right here. This is 150 milligrams. I mark them down in the package when I give them to them.
Yeah.
To tell them how much because they ask me, right?
Yep.
Now I have the ones that people like, the Gorilla Ganja. Those are very nice.
Also probably one of our most incredible donators for such a long time.
Yeah.
Joe Pepper gets the longest standing because she was really the first one to show up with the brownies there right at the beginning of when we started handing things out, and she's been consistently bringing them ever since then. So, you know, an amazing contributor to the program. And so we also have some caps from Dirty Dave. We typically have, on there they are there. It's pretty hot out here for the caps for sure.
Everything's, I put them on ice to keep them. They change to liquid if they're not on ice. If they're on ice, they go solid.
Right.
So everything's got to be on
Everything's
ice.
on ice out here like that.
John.
We have the Green Wilderness gummies.
This is from John. That comes from Delta.
Yeah, John Murray.
Yes. He's pretty good at making them. They're 30 milligrams each.
Yeah.
And what do I have?
We have topical cream lots of times, suppositories, you know, pretty much whatever people need, we have them.
We have someone that comes around and gives us some of these.
And so then what we do is we put all of these things together.
Yeah.
And people can come here that are members. They knock on the door, they give their membership number, and then they can pick 420 milligrams of any of those items, plus more that we have every 4 days. And that's been the program for over 2 years now that we've been running here. We haven't added any people in over 2 years as well, or in about 2 years, because a couple months in we had that many people. And we've only added just a few since then because we really don't have the capacity to do much more from a small RV and with the amount of fridge space that we have and the other things that we have here. All of it limited, of course, because we don't have proper supports from governments or, you know, whatever. We just have what we have here and we're just doing what we can with what we have. So, yeah, that's what I got to say. We're still angry about not being in the store, hey?
Yeah, we're still angry not being
And we still need more donators?
We still need lots of more donators.
Donators is what makes it work.
If you want to help, you're more than welcome. Come on down, show us what you got, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We need lots.
We need lots. Please contact us.
See, I have a list. I have a waiting list of 250 people. If we had more donations, lots more donations, I could help a lot more people.
We could help
and
some
we couldn't
more.
And we wouldn't have what we have today. If I could help a lot more people get off the drugs, then we wouldn't have what we have today. Because people would be in a different frame of mind, right? That's what we need them to be.
Donators are key.
Yeah.
Donators are key, and there's what made this program work right from the start. Those people that donate are the angels that allow this to happen. This is somehow a cosmic thing going on, and it's because it's attracted a bunch of people who want to help by donating stuff to the program. That's how we give this stuff all away. And it's happening in Halifax, and it's happening in London, Ontario, and those people need their donations there more than we do here. If you're in those areas, or if you can, you know, send something to them. In London, Ontario, William Hicks is looking after the Cannabis Substitution Program there, and really needs, you know, as much help as he can get, as always. We have right from the beginning. In doing what we did once a week for the first year, twice a week for the next 2.5 years, 6 days a week for, you know, most of the last 2 years, and now 7 days a week for the last several months. It's always been a struggle. It has always been a struggle. I don't like asking people for things. I don't usually tap anybody's shoulder and say, you know, help us with this. I wait for people to come to us. I don't like the hard sell. I believe when people come to us, they mean that means they really do want to be a donator and help us again and again and again. So, you know, please, if you can, if you're capable, or if you know somebody, if this is a great way to have some fun, is donating to the Cannabis Substitution Program and watching the journey of our quest for a low barrier access cannabis store. I don't know how the finale is going to end, but I suspect it ends with us unveiling the sign above our store that allows for all across Canada people to have low barrier access and discreet dispensing of the cannabis products that they need. So thanks, Andrew, for you know, being a trooper and being here, and we'll see you in a minute too. We're just going to do a little wrap up. And Chris Backer as well in Halifax there. He's been doing the program for over 2 years. and really needs more donations, as we all do. After I just said I don't like asking for donations, but through this medium I don't mind telling you, and especially on behalf of the other programs, you know, we do need donators. I can't emphasize that enough. So come on in for a minute. You might want to unbutton your shirt. It's a little bit warm in here. Take off your coat if you're wearing one. But hi, George.
Thank you.
Still rolling?
He rolled up the window. Oh my God, that's bravery.
It is cooling down a little better in the evenings.
There's a reason why we have the door open so the breeze goes from there through.
So who was it that rolled up the window? Was that a Neil?
Your cameraman.
That was me, just for the sound. As soon as we're done, I will open it back up.
Oh, I just opened one.
That one's hard to close. That's why we don't bother with that.
I see. Yeah, it is hard to close. I did it yesterday. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is. You know, this is what we've been doing. You get a little taste of it if you haven't seen the show before. We're providing access through this RV on the downtown east side of Vancouver to people that are struggling with the addiction to the hard drugs that are in the area, and so prevalent in the area, I might add. You know, any normal person walking down Hastings Street, anywhere near Hastings in Maine, you're going to be constantly asked if you would like some up, some down, some side, or whatever you know is available in the way of hard drugs. Those dealers are prevalent. There's lots of them. They're everywhere. Cannabis is available here through us primarily, anything to do with proper high-dose edibles and concentrates. But there are people up and down Hastings Street also selling cannabis at $10 a gram for, you know, who knows what kind of cannabis. Maybe some of it's good. I'm not trying to slag anybody. In fact, there's nobody there that I know personally, and no company name and no storefront going on. There's just random people that have bags of cannabis that they're going to sell you for $10 a gram. And we're here helping people get access with cannabis at $1 a gram and a little bit up from there. But the whole idea is to have it for the people that can't afford it. And we're the only option in the neighborhood. So the government, shame on them for putting pressure on us while somehow allowing, you know, dozens of other proprietors of, you know, tents for the most part to be selling their harmful and toxic, deadly products to people and not properly clamping down on them at all. The comment from the last VPD officer that I made that to said, well, we arrest the odd one, you know. Yeah, well, it doesn't mean that there's not another one taking his place right away, and it doesn't mean that there's not still a dozen or more people down that sidewalk that are going to make it available easily and cheaply for people to get those hard drugs. There needs to be easy access to cannabis. It is such a no-brainer. It is the solution that will do the most good. It is the best harm reduction solution that there is by far, and we just need the government in Ottawa to support us in doing that. So, you know, you can do your part. You can write a letter to them, you can send them an email, you can make a phone call, you can find other people that will put pressure on them. You could let the media know what's going on here. This is a huge story of government corruption at the highest level and people dying by the tens of thousands as a result. I can't imagine a more important story in our world today. So put pressure on the media, put pressure on the politicians, put pressure on anybody in a position of influence that can help make a difference and help us achieve what is so important for Canada and the rest of the world, and that is easy access, low barrier access to cannabis.
You get buzzed out and you get...
Plain and simple. It's never been the demon that they said it was. They lied about that. They should apologize for that. And at this point in time, in 2022, it is long overdue that they stop with the lies, they stop with the stigma, they stop with the criminalization, the demonization, and the rest of it, and allow people to have proper access to this plant, and allow farmers to have proper access to the marketplace to bring this plant to market like they do all the other fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Cannabis needs to be vindicated. They need to apologize, and you can be part of making that happen. Just write a letter, send an email, make a phone call, talk to somebody, have some fun. Make sure that there's something that you do so you sleep a little better at night. And that's all I got to say today. As I always say, you know, love your world, love the people in your world, love yourself, and most important, as always, have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.